and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. We're going to kick it off we got a lot of games to talk about this week. We're now in the thick, I guess, of, would you even say it's the beginning of the holiday season? I guess it is kind of in terms of game releases.
There's a couple more, but there really aren't like many major ones left, right?
Well, I mean, we've gotten Starfield. We have Spider-Man now. Alan Wake is next week. Mario Wonder is out. Mario RPG is out in November. Assassin's Creed is out for people that are into that.
I'll play it eventually.
I will play it. That's a Black Friday game for me. But yeah, a lot of stuff. I guess a lot of stuff is already out.
Yeah, there's not like a December big game.
No,
Final Fantasy's next year. Everything else is like February, March.
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. So before I kick off what I've been playing, I'm gonna go on my GameStop rant about not Spider-Man, my Mario Wonder. So last weekend, I was perusing, for whatever reason, the GameStop website, and I saw they have a promotion, which they've had this promotion in the past. I don't think we ever had a promotion like this when we worked there.
We had similar ones, for sure.
But similar. But it is like a most wanted list. And if you trade in 2 games from this most wanted list, you can get a new game. And I would assume it's any new game that is currently out. And that's how I read it anyways, going in.
That's how I read it too.
$50 off of it. Yeah. You know. So I kind of figured going in, I'm like, it's probably not going to work towards Super Mario Wonder because they already have a promotion going on for Super Mario Wonder if you trade towards it.
Right.
But my thought process was, if not, I'll buy a new game and just return it and pick up Mario Wonder on Friday.
Do the old GameStop scam. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I have not been into this GameStop since May to cancel my Diablo. So it's been a while. So I roll in Monday. This is Monday after work. I'm like, I'll run over there real quick. What I assume would be, this would be a quick like 5-minute thing. Was not. Spoiler. Wow. I roll in. It is 2 people I've never seen. And it's clear to me as I'm standing there waiting, the person in front of me, of course, doing a cash trade. And I kind of pegged it right away. You can tell when somebody's doing a cash trade, but the comment the guy made behind the counter was, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that trades in for this much." So it's somebody that knows the system and is working it for cash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I heard what the game was that the guy was trading in, but. So and I had to stand there for a while. There are 2 people working. This is important to know. 2 people working. The guy that I dealt with is from a different store filling in for whatever reason. I don't know. And the other person
There's
working.
So many reasons now that.
Yeah. The other person working, it is their first shift they are training. So already I'm like, oh boy, it's going to be fun. So I immediately just explained to this guy what I'm doing. I'm like, look, man, I want to trade in these 2 games. You have this promotion that's like, trade 2 games off this list, get 50 off of whatever new game. And the first thing out of this guy's mouth is, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a fun conversation.
Fantastic start. Yep.
And I'm like, all right. So I pull out my phone. I show the guy. I'm like, all right, well, this is on your website right now. Okay, I'm going to have to make a phone call. I'm like, all right. So he calls.
What I understand is, why would you have to make a phone call to verify a trade promotion?
That's on the website. Like, I'm not making this up.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has to be something he can see on the back end, too. Like, we had ways
I would assume, right?
Remember, we used to be able to print out just, like, almost like an Excel sheet with, like, valid promotions.
Also, like, when we worked there, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't think it was going above and beyond to know what the promotions were that were active.
It was kind of important.
That was just covering your ass.
The other thing, I think you and I talked about it. We talked about it before. Like, the other thing was, if I didn't realize what a promotion was, just test it.
And that's what I tried to get this guy to do. So the guy's like, let me make a phone call. And I'm like, all right. So he calls what I assume is his boss at a neighboring store.
Right.
This guy says, I don't know what that is.
That's crazy.
So he gets off the phone, and the first thing I say to him when he gets off the phone, I'm like, look, man, and this is when I break it down, because I hate saying, and we've talked about this, I hate revealing that I used to work for the company. Too. But at this point, I was like, it's a card I'll play. So I tell the guy, I'm like, look, man, I worked here for 4.5 years. Just scan a new game in.
Just try it.
Like, after these 2 games, I'm trading in and see if it works.
If people don't know, like, the computer, not only does it, like, automatically apply promotions, but it's smart enough to give you the best deal.
Yeah,
like that's a whole other conversation we can have.
And they have not changed that.
No, that's a whole other topic we can talk about. But the computer is smart enough to do the thing that is best for the customer. People don't think it does it, but it does.
He kind of blows that off and is like, let me call somebody else. Calls another manager. Same answer. I don't know. But this manager says, hey, call our area manager.
Crazy.
She'll know. And so at this point, he calls the area manager, has this person on speaker. So I say it again with this person on the phone. I'm like, just take a copy of Lords of the Fallen, because that's a new game.
Right.
I'm like, just scan it after these and tell me, like, let me look at the little pin pad and see what it does. And so even at this point, even the area manager's like, yeah, do that. So we do it. Oh, bingo. Wow. It gives me the promotion. I'm like, okay. So he's like, all right, it's working. Gets off phone with her. I'm like, all right. I'm like, add a reserve for Mario Wonder and then remove Lords of the Fallen. Let's see what it does. So he does that. Oh, it takes that promotion away. Okay, fine.
They probably kicked in a different one that was worse. I'm guessing like a trade.
So what it is it went from being $50 to $33 because the promotion for Mario Wonder is you get an extra 20%.
Sure.
On whatever you're trading.
Common promo.
But that's worse. Like, I'm literally losing about $20. So at this point, I look at the guy and I tell him, like, look, man, I'll just buy this copy of Lords of the Fallen. And I was like, I'll put $5 on Wonder and I'll return it on Friday and pick up Wonder. Okay, fine, sure. It's important to note at this point of the conversation, this man has scanned Lords of the Fallen. He has not taken it out of the drawer once. So I'm like, okay, and he does everything, rings it out, finalizes the transaction, then goes to pull the game out, which is the gut copy. Fine, whatever. In today's GameStop landscape, that's pretty common.
Would be the only one they got.
Exactly. So whatever. I'm not really paying attention. He puts it in a bag, and I'm like, all right, cool. I make sure I have the receipt. I don't really look at it. I'm like, good, on my way. So I get home. I pull the game out. Oh, no. He did not actually seal the game. So I have a new copy of Lords of the Fallen, but this man did not reseal it. And I text you, and I just like, there's no way they're going to take this return. Because they're going to think that.
What was the first thing I told you?
No way.
It's going to be an issue. Yeah.
It's going to be a problem. Like, no way. So I'm like, whatever. And that's why I told you, I'm like, well, at this point, I'm already like, I'm pretty much done with GameStop. Like, my card expired. My card actually expired today as we're recording.
Ooh, you're out.
I'm out. But I was like, you know what, whatever. I'll try it on Friday. Worst case scenario, I have a copy of Lords of the Fallen I paid $17 out of pocket for. Not the end of the world. I was already going to play that game at some point. But I'm not happy about the situation.
Right.
Of course not.
So I roll in Friday, and I already have to go to Best Buy to pick up my Spider-Man because I did an in-store pickup because their shipping's been kind of fucked lately.
Well, I told you, like, in-store pickup at Best Buy is the best way to get games. Which, period.
I have something to say about Best Buy, too, and we'll get to that because that's interesting. No. But so I roll in. Completely different person I've never seen, by the way.
I knew it would.
And the minute I walk in, I'm like, this isn't going to. I already knew the minute I walked in, I'm like, this person's not going to do shit for me. Sure enough, I go up, I explain the situation. Guy looks at the game, looks at me. Yeah, I can't return this. Like, this is open. And I tell him, I'm like, look, man, I'm like, this dude was here Monday, didn't seal the game. There's no way I can return this and pick up this Mario Wonder because, like, that was the whole plan here. Like, I don't need this. No, won't do it. And I told the guy, like, I was chill with him, but I'm like, at this point, I'm kind of done with GameStop anyways. I'm like, I'll just cancel the Mario. I'll go get it at Best Buy. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to buy it here.
No,
so
right.
I canceled it. That was the end of GameStop. So I have a copy of Lords of the Fallen. I'll play at some point.
Yeah.
So I roll over to Best Buy, and this is the other important thing. So I go to get my Spider-Man, and I get there, and I'm like, I'll just go over to the game section and grab a copy of Mario Wonder. And I don't know if the GameStop or if the Best Buy in your town does this now or not. I've not been into that one in a while. They have no physical games on the floor anymore.
Oh, no, we still do.
So let me explain.
It's mostly empty, but we still do.
Let me explain what it is, though, because it's not exactly what you think.
Mm-hmm.
They still have the section. They still have. If you were to break it down, you could literally fit PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo on one side of an aisle.
Oh, they could,
and
do
that
that
would be the section. But they won't do
that at our store too, but they refuse to. Yeah,
but they still have. When you go to Best Buy, you pick up a game. The physical game is in like a security box. You get the security box up. Okay, they still have the security boxes out there, with a printed black and white piece of paper of what the game is. And in front of it, instead of having like, here's the price of the game, they want you to use the Best Buy app to scan the QR code, and it will tell that store, hey, we'll hold the game up for you at the counter.
Like, all right, to be fair, in this day and age, that's not a terrible system. Because it was shocking to me. That's all. I mean, it's not a terrible system just because of the way Best Buys are laid out and the fact that they don't really give a shit about video games anymore, which we'll talk about later. But what you're telling me is that like this seems like very store specific, so I'm guessing they've had theft problems. Because
that's what I'm assuming too.
Because if it's black and white, that means they're printing them in store.
Oh yeah,
and it's not like the cover art we used to get sent to us, and they can't just make fake copies.
Exactly.
It's funny. It's funny because what you're kind of describing to me is, remember Toys R Us?
It's okay. It sounds like that, but it's not.
No,
cool
but like but the thing is like maybe that's what Best Buy's all of them should do now.
I agree.
Wouldn't it make more sense just to go back to the Toys R Us wall where like picture, price, and if you want it,
that was cool.
Take the ticket to the front, and the dude in the weird little room in the back up at the corner, he's probably chain smoking cigarettes in there, waiting for some kid to get his Super Nintendo game.
Absolutely,
that actually seems like a better way.
It seems like a good way to do it in 2023,
right?
So I ended up just going up and being like, oh, I'm here to pick up this Spider-Man. And then I just asked them, like, do you have extra copies of Super Mario Wonder? And they're like, yeah, I'll just buy one. So, but I laughed at that because I'm like, this is crazy that this is all like this. But I'm also, given the news we'll get into later, it makes sense.
They should, honestly, Best Buy really just should say F it and do that. But yeah, that's pretty funny.
But they should make it look a little nicer, not black and white paper.
There's a way to do it, for sure.
There's a way to do it.
Should I tell my GameStop story now real quick? Just because
go for it.
Okay. So
go for it.
Last weekend, didn't have much to do with my kids, and I was like, you know what, we're gonna go to the mall. Because there's a relatively big mall by us. Kyle knows where it is.
Yeah.
And it was a Sunday, and we got there around 11:50 something, and we always park by the entrance where the GameStop is. So I'm like, oh, we'll go to the GameStop because my card expires next month. And I had enough for a $20 coupon. Plus I had my $5. Okay. And I'm like, you know what we're going to do is we're going to burn these points because I got the email that said you're going to lose all these points if you don't use your stuff. So I was like, you know what, let's burn it. And I can just, undo the shackles and I can be separated from this. Yeah. So the important thing to note is Saturday was the end of Pro Week when like most of the sales and stuff were going on. And Sunday is when a lot of it was supposed to come down. And I knew this as a customer who doesn't shop at GameStop anymore. But so, we're waiting there. Manager finally opens the gate at 12 and it's like awesome. Me and my kids and like 2 other kids are waiting. So we can just go in and start looking around. First problem, and I know this is a problem for a lot of stores, but I didn't tolerate it. This store looks like a train wreck. And I'm not saying like, oh, a couple games are out of place and I think it looks bad. It's awful. I don't know what the rules are for organizing stuff on the walls anymore, but whatever they are, this is not it.
Yeah.
Like this is insane. Every single Pro Week sign is still up. And they all of them are saying this is on sale this Sunday. And I'm thinking to myself, none of this is right.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking through the stuff, just trying to find something that I wanted to get for cheap. I was looking like if I could have found Octopath Traveler 2 for PS5, I probably would have got that because that one said whatever. I couldn't find anything I wanted, and I finally just told the kids, I'm like, we'll just get you Minecraft for the Switch.
Yeah.
Just like they've been asking for it, and it's like I've just been lazy about getting it. And I'm like, you know what? If they have one, we'll get it. I go over there. I can't find nothing's in order. I can't find anything. I finally locate Dungeons and Legends, but no regular Minecraft. I'm like, okay. I get on my phone real quick and double check. It says they should have. Okay, fine. I'll just bite the bullet and I'll go ask the manager because that's who it was. I go up there and I said, do you have regular Minecraft for Switch? I looked all over. I cannot find a case. And she kind of like, well, I think I know we had one. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this isn't even a conversation. This should be you typing on the keyboard and seeing if you have it, or going to the drawer and seeing if you have it.
Yeah.
Like doing all this, fine, whatever. just starts having like a conversation. I'm like, yeah, I looked on the site. It says you have one. She goes and looks. Oh yeah, I have one. Goes to the drawer, pulls it out. It's a sealed copy, so it wasn't even gutted. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
got the last one. Burn my stuff. Burn my points. And then I again, like you said, I hate having to drop the like, oh, I used to work here bit. But then it started getting into, do you want to renew your card? Do you want the GPG? Yeah. And I'm like, look, I'll level with you. I used to work here. I don't need any of this. And the funniest part of the whole transaction, because like, so finally we just bought the game and we left. The funniest part of the whole transaction was while I'm walking up to ask her, I see her holding a piece of paper and reading, Pro Week is over. All these signs should come down. Like, you just found that out now?
Oh, that's bad.
It's 10 minutes into your shift. And then I found out later that was the manager.
That's bad.
Damn.
I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what I would have done if I'd come in and like somebody else had closed and I told them, make sure this stuff is down. And I came in the next day and all of it was still
You'd
up.
You'd be blowing that person's phone up first of all.
I'd be texting that person immediately.
Yeah,
what the fuck is the matter with you?
Yeah.
You know, back in the day where I could text you off the clock, even though we weren't supposed to. But yeah, it was just like, what an incredibly poorly run store. Now I feel bad because, you know, single coverage in that mall, in that store
has to be terrible.
It has to be terrible. Right. It just has to be.
I would imagine that mall is still very busy.
Oh, constantly. Okay. Forever. And the thing was this weekend or that weekend, because that used to be a Sears next to it. Remember?
Yeah.
That transitioned into a new store, and this was like the grand opening. Or like the soft opening of this place.
That's bad.
To the point where they were directing people like you couldn't go in through the outside of the mall. You had to go in through the inside, and they were making people wait in line. Like that's how popular.
That's insane. Okay.
But that was my little GameStop story. But for the most part, I'm pretty much done.
Yeah, no, I'm at the same point where I'm like, I don't need to ever buy anything from GameStop.
I have no reason to anymore.
That kind of killed my mood on even using it sparingly. So. Yeah. You know, and I laugh. I get home, you know, and I tell, because at this point, like I had to call my girlfriend because I have to wake her up for her to get ready for her shift because she works at night. And then I get home and I start telling her, and she's like, well, your first mistake is going to GameStop. She's still pissed about the hours thing. And I'm man. Yeah, she still fucking hates that day she went at like 11:30 in the morning. And they didn't open until noon. And that has like scorned her on GameStop for life. So, because she's like, I'm not waiting a half hour. I'm like,
I'm not doing that shit.
So, exactly. So, she just goes online now. Like, if she wants to find, she even go for a game. She just was like, I just went, because it was like right before Christmas last year. She's like, I just went to see if they had any cool, like, stuff that you would like. And she's like, I just went online. So,
I mean, real talk, that's the main reason I go to GameStop is to just see what they got anything on their clearance section.
It's like, I'll say the little, because I had time to look around while I waited for this guy to finish this other transaction. And like, that store is mostly clearance. Like, it's just all clearance shit everywhere. Like, there are less games than there are clearance stuff at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's very easy to deduce that. So, but we can go ahead and get into what we've been playing. I'll kick it off. I mean, obviously, the big game here is Spider-Man, and Dan and I have both played a significant part of it, so we'll discuss that together. But I finished the High on Life DLC, High on Knife, which I enjoyed. It's fine. It gets wacky at the end. They have a very good they have a couple very good jokes in that, but they have a very good jab at Jason Schreier. And like him reporting like at Bloomberg on video game stuff that I thought was very funny. Like there's some good jokes. Like everything said, the only thing that ruined that deal, it didn't ruin it, but it kind of kills the mood of that DLC is like, I guess I didn't realize how integral that Kenny gun was to that experience until playing it now without that character. But then they replaced that character with a female gun that is just not funny, like at all. And just doesn't mesh with the other guns because each other gun is such a character that you remember. Like you remember Knifey, you remember Gus, you remember, like I can remember those names. Say what you will about High on Life, but I can remember, like it has memorable characters. And this new gun, I believe the name is Harper. It's just not a memorable gun. Which is a bummer. But the one thing that is really cool about that DLC is like at the end of it, you upgrade Knifey with this like chainsaw thing. You can actually go back and play the regular game with that upgrade, which is cool.
That's cool.
Like if you haven't finished side stuff in High on Life, you can go back and have that upgrade. And I think that's pretty cool. So, I finished that, and then I decided, because I knew Spider-Man was coming at the end of last week, and I didn't want to start anything too crazy, but Alan Wake 2 is coming out at the end of the month. I have not played through Alan Wake 1 since it came out. I think I messed around with it on a stream a couple years ago, so I decided to take down my sealed copy of Alan Wake Remastered. Open it and run through it. I did not do any of the collectible stuff because I did all that shit 13 years ago. I don't need to do that again. I just wanted to do the story. It's a really good remaster of that game. They do some really cool things. Like if you play it now, like that game did not run at 60 frames when it came out. It does now with this remaster. And they did a bunch of it seems like they did a bunch of updates to like the way the lighting works in that game, which makes sense for what it is. And then like all the fog and stuff looks really good in the game in comparison to what it looked like, a decade ago. So it's definitely worth checking out if you have not played Alan Wake. So with the new one coming out, a couple days from I think it's Thursday. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Which I'm going to jump into it after I finish Spider-Man, but I enjoyed going back to Alan Wake 1. I still have the same complaint about that game that I did when it came out, which is it's very much a PG-13 horror game. So, and I think that's the biggest thing that this new one's going to improve is like, now this new one is going for a hard R.
Well, the first one was meant to be more like
Stephen King-ish,
spooky, and like thinking about it kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of what, and if you go back and play it now, which I have not played it, I've played Control and all that, like this really was kind of the beginning of that, like, no, this is a dude trapped in this weird world.
Yeah.
And so it's cool. So it was fun to go back and revisit it. I mean, I think I beat through it within 10 hours. Like it's not very long.
No,
so
especially
it is worth revisiting. Yeah. Then I did the spookiest thing of all, which is for the channel for Halloween, I usually stream horror games. I did the Twin Peaks demo for that game, which is awesome. And then I said, after we talked about it got that patch. Why don't I look at Redfall and see what Redfall is all about after this patch? I have played probably about 3 hours of Redfall. And I will say coming out, and again, I did not play Redfall when it came out. I'm sure it was a broken mess. We saw the videos. We all saw all the stuff when it launched. I actually kind of like Redfall. So, and this is also, I will also put out there, I'm not a huge fan of Arcane Studios. Of all their games, the only one that I ever liked was Prey. Which isn't really, like, it is Prey in name only. Like, it doesn't share anything with that original Prey, which is a tremendous game. But I don't like Dishonored. I did not play the second one, and we both know, I think we talked about in the very early days of the podcast, I did not like Deathloop. Right. I don't think you really cared for it that much either.
I like it. I never finished it, though. I just couldn't get... There's something about it.
It didn't click for me.
You know how I am. I like the concept of that game a lot, but in practice, there was something about it I just didn't hook me at all.
Yeah. Okay. I will say about Redfall, so like you can definitely see where corners were cut with certain things. Like it's very weird to, like, I'll give you an example. So you can pick from 4 different characters when you start the game. Like those are your 4 characters that have hero abilities and stuff, right? The character I picked is like the hooded dude that has this bird. They, at least at the part I'm at in the game, which I've played a little bit, I've barely scratched the surface of it, but they have not explained to me why this dude's wearing a hood, why he has this mystical bird that you can throw out. Like, there's no explanation for why this man has powers, which is really weird. But what I do find really interesting is I like the world that the game is set in. I like the idea of like, okay, you're in this like very northeastern town, like up like almost like the Maine coastline or something like that is being overtaken by these vampires. Like when you start the game, you wake up on this like big freighter boat and the sea around this like coastal town is like split in half, like Moses fucking splitting the Red Sea. Okay.
All right.
And it looks funky because again, there's funkiness with this game all around. But when you wake up and stuff's like kind of going sideways, the whole thing is like these vampires are doing this thing to block out the sun, so then they can take over this town. And then after that, it kind of drops you in. You do this little stealth mission to get into this, like, I believe it's a firehouse. You save some people there, and that's kind of your first base of operations. And after that, you can pretty much just explore this town and do different missions and stuff. Now, I have not played the game in co-op. I've convinced my girlfriend to play it, so at some point we're going to look at it. But we had family stuff go on this weekend, so we didn't have a chance. But I found myself when I streamed it, I played it on PC because it was just easier. And then after that, I was like, all right, I installed it on my Xbox. I'm like, I'll go try it with this patch on the Xbox. It runs great both places. So whatever they did to fix it. The other thing I know that they did was, I guess, running around the world, there weren't a lot of enemy encounters until you get to specific areas. That's not the case anymore. So there were a lot of enemies. I did see some janky shit. My favorite was whenever you see vampires in the world, they kind of levitate. I literally walked up to one that just was frozen in place.
Yeah.
Like just levitating. I'm like, okay. That being said, and we'll get to it, I've seen more bugs in Spider-Man than this game. Which is weird in
Spider-Man, yeah.
Which we'll talk to. But I'll talk more about Redfall. But like, I am surprised how much I enjoyed what I played of it and find it interesting. But that being said, it's very much a 6 to 7 out of 10 game. And as we talked about a couple weeks ago when we had Ryan here, like sometimes that's okay. Yeah, sometimes you want to play a 6 out of 10, and that's how I felt the entire time I was playing Redfall. I'm like, this is okay. So
just seems like a game that maybe should have come out 6 months later, right?
That's the biggest thing I would say is like, I don't understand why Microsoft couldn't have just said, you know what? How about Starfield in September, Forza in November, and put this game out for Halloween?
There you go.
It would have been fine.
Yeah,
you would have had nothing but Hi-Fi Rush in the first half of the year, but hey, we dealt with 2022. So.
But putting this out broken essentially means you didn't have this anyway.
It wasn't ready.
Yeah, right. It didn't help you anyway. So
now, will this game get more support in the future? I don't know. Bethesda is saying they're going to continue supporting it, but I don't. I feel like they could just get away with like, okay, it's fixed, have fun, and that that's probably would be acceptable. The last thing that I've played, and then we'll get to Spider-Man, is I did mess around with Halo Infinite Season 5. I have enjoyed what they've done. They've added 2 new maps, a bunch of the typical like cosmetic stuff. The big thing that is coming, it's not out yet, is out, I believe, November 6th. They're adding a Halo 3, they call it the Halo 3 Refueled map playlist, which they are coinciding with the release of the original game Fuel, which I will not be able to partake of now, but which really sucks. But they have remade 8 maps from Halo, actually 9 maps from Halo 3. They're all the maps you want them to remake. Right. One of them is already in the game. Technically, they did remake the Pit a while ago. And that's a very good version of the Pit. But that's, I will say also, I can't remember if we put in the news or not, but their numbers doubled over the weekend. So
nice.
They have people returning to this game with this update. Well,
the game I think Season 5 is a big deal too. Like people are latching onto that.
That's why I laugh. It's like people might be down on Halo, but they sure fucking remember the game Fuel.
They do.
So, but yeah, I played a couple matches, enjoyed what I played of it. I will continue to mess around with it, but we can get to the big release of arguably the biggest release of the year.
It's Sony's biggest release of the year.
Sony's biggest release of the year, at least, which is Spider-Man 2. I think you and I have determined we're roughly at the same part of the game.
You're like one mission ahead.
I'm like a mission ahead of you, yeah.
But I think I've probably done more side stuff than you have.
You've probably done more side missions than I have. Yeah. You know what I did today right before we were recording? I went around and did every one of the pictures you can take that are on the mini map so far.
Yep.
Because I was like, fuck it, I'll just do this. Because I didn't want to start another mission. Because who knows if that mission's going to be 5 minutes or 55
Some of them
minutes.
are short and some of them are very long. Yeah.
Some of them go on.
The story dump missions are huge, but like they are done very well for like
they're done very. Yeah. Like I am having a tremendous time with it. The story is excellent as much as the first one story was. which I at the time that the first one came out, I was amazed. I think for the first time for me, as many times as we've seen the story of Spider-Man and Doc Ock, I think for me that was the best way it's been handled for me.
Very, very good, like refreshing.
To the point that
take,
it was a refreshing take on it, but also like it had that emotional gut punch of like, no, this was his friend that now.
Well, this was
kind of his mentor.
This was like
that's the way they framed this one.
Your Uncle Ben moment, because you didn't get that because he was already Spider-Man, so you kind of got this like beloved father figure stuff, and then like the betrayal. Essentially, like even though we all knew it was coming. It was still
exactly.
It was still interesting to see it like unfold within the context of that game, and especially like how it kind of created his version of like the Sinister Six almost kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
Like it kind of built all that. So
this one
takes it a different direction. Yeah,
this one takes it a different direction, but like they are building what I think will be even more of an emotional gut punch when. I assume the thing I think will happen. Well,
it's going to happen.
Without spoiling, it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen.
We're at the point where it's about to happen.
I mean, it's not a spoiler, I don't think, to say who Venom is in this game, right?
Like no, because it was revealed at the end of the first one, and it's revealed in the first 2 minutes of this game. It's revealed on the start screen of this game.
True, you're right. So Venom in this game is not Eddie Brock, it's Harry.
Right.
Because they've used Harry, or they used the symbiote to secure him, which is shown in the first one. It's shown in the first one, so that was kind of like you knew that was going to be the build. They've obviously leaked in everything that the Venom suit is in this game. Oh yeah,
and so you kind of had to put it together that Harry was going to at least start with it. Now, how he gives it up or what happens to him, who knows? But clearly at some point Peter gets it. Let
me ask you this question.
Yeah.
As you are the bigger Spider-Man person, I'm the bigger Batman person. Yeah. How do you feel thus far where you are in the game? They have handled Kraven the Hunter.
Good so far. Okay. He hasn't really been a factor.
He's more in the shadows.
Yeah, but except for that one, obviously the one giant mission so far, like that's like the second major thing that happens. But yeah, I mean, he's biding his time. It's kind of like the first game where Mr. Negative was the bad guy and he was the marketing and all that kind of stuff for like half of the game. And then it changed. I feel like that's what's building here too, because
I think so too. Whereas like that,
spoilers for the for the tutorial mission of the game.
Yeah.
Like this is if you've scrolled through Instagram, you've already seen it. But so the tutorial mission is like a fight against a giant Sandman, which is incredibly impressive how they do it.
It's one of the most like technically impressive things I've seen in a game this generation.
I told my buddy, I said
everything that they do.
It made me, as I was doing that, like as you're swinging out to fight him and stuff. That was the moment where I thought, like, if this was a PS4 game, it would have melted through my entertainment center into the floor and kept going.
What was the thing I texted you? Was like, there's no way this would have been able to happen on a PS4.
Impossible.
The way
that mission is impossible.
Impossible. And that's in the first 10 minutes of that game.
That's the tutorial. And then it sets up, one of the collectible routes throughout the game. And then it really sets up, like, the Kraven, like, coming to New York kind of a thing.
The other thing, too, is, like, I find it's an interesting direction because I'm sure there are a group of people that maybe did not play the Miles Morales game.
There's got to be some.
You have to play that to get.
It's a requirement.
It is a requirement to enjoy this game because obviously the big thing, and that's all known too, is you switch between Miles Morales and Peter Parker, but like it clearly is happening right after that Miles Morales game. So,
and they play differently enough to the point where there is a difference.
There's a pretty big difference
how you manage
them.
Fighting and stuff. Like obviously, like punches and stuff. They've tweaked the fighting stuff from the first game. Added some mechanics I don't really care for, like parrying. It just seems.
I was gonna say my biggest issue with what they've added is there are now two different parries or like dodge / parry. There's the circle you can kind of dodge out, or now there's like a parry against heavy enemies,
right? Which in the past you had to basically just like work around it.
But also, like pretty much anytime you were fighting Kraven's hunters, it is like just endless waves of enemies.
Oh God,
of all shapes and sizes.
The craziest part about them is they can sit on anything. So they're like you. They can sit on top of like light poles and stuff. So they're everywhere.
So you can get 2 or 3 of them at once, just all snipers that are just hiding on a wall.
You're constantly you're dodging a lot more in this game than you were in the first one for sure.
You do a lot of dodging.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're playing the game. I assume you're playing like performance mode, 60 frames, whatever. Okay. So if you have an OLED TV that is 120 hertz, you can run the game in quality mode at like 40 frames, but because it's 120 hertz TV, the refresh rate is so fast, it looks like it's 60, which is how I'm playing the game. So it looked like even my girlfriend has stopped a couple times, just like walking through the living room, like this game looks incredible. Like
the lighting is insane. Like
if you play in quality mode, it has ray tracing on and stuff. So like it looks insane.
Yeah.
Like
have you noticed?
It really is a powerhouse.
Have you noticed? This is a good touch of like the detail in this game. Now, since there's more to this game, close up things don't look, I think, as good as maybe the remastered PS5 version does of the first game.
Okay.
But have you noticed that if you're crawling up a building, you can see in the building?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sometimes there are people in the building.
There are people in the building doing things in the building. That is fucking crazy. I was on top of a building and there was like a window on the thing next to me. I looked in and there's a woman doing like yoga in there. And I thought to myself, like, is this like a reflection? No, it's inside the building.
The couple moments of this game that have made me feel like, okay, this is really a next gen thing. Like we're doing something that hasn't been done before. The carnival sequence.
Oh my God.
Was the first time that I realized, like, as I'm walking around, all of these NPCs are different animated people.
They're doing different things and
they're doing different things. They look different.
Yes.
You don't see like 2 of the same person ever.
I haven't really necessarily been looking for it, but in the past, when you're playing and you're not looking for it, you'll see it. And this one I have not seen it. Now that does lead to some weird stuff because obviously there's a lot of people and they're all doing different things. Some of them walk through other people, including your character. Some of them float. Some of them get stuck in certain places. I kind of accept that in a game this large, and it's just kind of one of those like silly haha things, whatever.
So I've seen. I'll talk about the glitches that I've seen. One I actually did capture on recording. So whenever I do a review, it'll be in there, which I'll talk about in a minute. But one of the cool sequences I had in the game was like I was playing as Peter, just doing a random like thug bust, whatever. Yeah. And I was in the vicinity of Miles, so he just kind of showed up and started helping me, which is cool, right? Yeah. Until he decided to super kick an enemy through a brick wall, but disappeared through the brick wall with this person. And I just was like, oh, that happened. And then just accepted it because whatever. In a game this big, you're probably going to see something like that once in a while.
Yeah. That's one of the
That was a funny
touches.
One.
Yeah.
The one that broke for me is the mission where you are helping Black Cat. And that's all I'll say because I don't want to spoil the fun of what happens at that mission. I got to a point where I defeated all these enemies at this, I think it's like a college campus or something, except one. And I could not defeat this last enemy. So like every punch that Miles is throwing, just purposely missing this NPC.
Weird.
Anytime I'd shoot web, anytime I'd do a special move, nothing would hit this man, but he could affect me. So I was already recording at the time, so I haven't recorded, but I ended up having to let that guy kill me and just have to do that whole sequence again, which is a bummer. But in a game this big, again, for everything good it's doing, nothing, even with these like bugs, has like taken me out of it where I'm like, I don't want to play the game. It's not like Jedi Survivor where it's unplayable or anything like that.
I like when you're doing because I got to like a random crime at one point, and I landed like up above it, and I immediately saw that like. I was playing as Peter. I immediately saw like his spider sense was going off. I was like, "There's no way they already saw me." Like I just showed up. So I zipped away and came back, and the spider sense went off again. I'm like, "What is going on?" And then I looked down, and it's just Miles fighting these guys already. I was like, "Oh, that's probably why the sense is going off." So I jump in. It's fun because like you jump in and do it, and then they have like a little talk, and you can interact with them and like you like give them a handshake, or they do the meme where they point at each other. Have you gotten that one yet?
That's a good one.
They do that, and then he jumps away. So like, there's a lot of like. Fun little touches. I don't necessarily want to say that like some of this stuff is Easter eggs, but it does feel like they're cramming in as much stuff as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
But like to call them Easter eggs isn't right. I saw some video today where it's like, here's a little Easter egg where you did the photo. So there's one where like these guys are throwing a Frisbee back and forth. That's like the first one you have to do. And it's a Captain America shield. Oh, that's an Easter egg. That's not an Easter egg. These people live in New York where Captain America is a real person.
I already climbed the Avengers Tower.
Yeah, Avengers Tower
was in the first game.
It's not an Easter egg. It was in the first tower. The thing is not an Easter egg. It's already in the first.
Yeah.
Like the word Easter egg is meant for more like, here's an Easter egg. When you go to Coney Island, the water thing they play is called Hydro Bench because Hydro Man's name is Morris Bench.
Oh, that's
Hydro
cool.
Bench. That's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
But the fact that Mysterio or like is referenced or whatever, that's not an Easter egg. He exists in this universe.
Yeah.
So, which that part I was texting you, I won't say what it is, but that's the part where like there's that mini game that you have to play that goes for far too long. And it goes for no reason other than I don't know. There's not.
I think it goes on that long because they're setting up what's going to happen.
That's fine, but it didn't have to. It could have been half as long playing the mini.
I agree.
Which is not even a good version of what it is because it's hard to tell. It's just
it's very hard to tell. Yeah,
it's a weird, like dumb little thing. It's just what I don't like about the game is there's a lot of side stuff which is just do the same thing. The first game did it too. Miles did it too. Every game does it. But it's just do the same thing over and over again. I don't necessarily mind like the fighting ones because at least I'm fighting something.
Yeah.
But the little like puzzly ones where it's like do the scanner, hold the analog triggers in the right spot, hold the door, and then do it again. The prowler and then stuff. Do it again, and then do it again. It's like, fuck, dude, these are all the same. Like there could have been some way to break this up.
Well, and that's the thing, and we've seen like there are people complaining. The game, if you 100% of the game takes 30 hours, and so then that argument is coming up. Like, is it worth $70? The game's only 30 hours. Like, my answer for you is they could have made this game 100 hours. You'd be doing a lot more of the same side mission shit. I don't want that.
I would not have liked it because I also hate dumb things in games where like every picture you take, Robbie comes up and tells you a little quip about this or that. It's like it's too much. It's too much. Like I don't mind taking the pictures, but I don't need a little bit of backstory about this fake in-game
every single time.
Every time. I finally unlocked what I think are the coolest collectibles in the game, which are like the little spider drone things. And they're themed after like other versions of Spider-Man, which is cool, like a cool thing because like I found the 2099 one and I found Spider-Ham and I found a Spider-Woman one. Those are fun because they're like
that is cool.
Those are like and they're designed to look like them. But like the Prowler stuff, the same. It's the same as the first game where it's like, oh, there's this cultist mission or there's this like hunter blind, and it's just go fight these people. Those at least break up the tasks. But
I can tell you, I've done like 3 or 4, and now I've done like the main cultist missions. But I did like 3 or 4 of those, like bust these cultists burning this building down, where it is literally the same like 4 windows that you are just, and it's like that's too much
every time. Yeah.
Every time it's the same fucking 4 windows that you're turning down.
In the same vein as that, I will say that the number one concern I had before this game was that the map would be identical. They do a pretty good job of focusing a lot of the story parts around parts that are in the new parts of the map.
For sure.
So you're spending a lot more time in newer areas, which actually makes it a lot more fun. More interesting. Like you're at the high school or you're at Coney Island, which that area is cool. The only thing is like in context. So obviously something drastic happens in Coney Island. Yeah. And then like in game time wise, I went there the next day and it's still like broken down and which is cool that it's still in the same form that it is. There's people just hanging around, walking around, doing whatever. It's like, no, in context of the story, this place
is fucking shut down.
Damn near condemned. So
exactly.
That's a little strange.
Well, and the thing I'll add to that is like, especially, and I don't know if you had it happen yet or not, but like, obviously one of the people that will come up on your little radio thing or whatever is JJ Jameson and his little podcast. And he literally, I'm doing those pictures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the pictures is of that carnival, and I've already done that carnival mission, so that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
I literally just get done hearing him talk on this podcast about how the carnival Coney Island thing is shut down. And then I go there and like, nah, people are still fucking around.
Out, playing games,
and
riding other rides. And I'm like, well, so it's a weird,
sure.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, maybe that's an oversight of some kind or whatever, but it doesn't really take me out of the game. I just thought it was strange because it was literally
it's a little strange
in game less than 24 hours later, and everybody just hanging out at this place.
It's like it's okay. This one ride got fucking destroyed,
but it's cool. But it's cool like that. Like there's still sand all over the place, and like they're still actively cleaning up what happened.
I thought that was cool. That, like
I
looked at that as like in the context of like the Arkham games that have come out. Like you didn't really ever do any missions where you're just fucking saving people.
Right.
Or like helping clean up some big fucking thing that happened.
A lot of this game is that.
In this game is that. It's like, okay, well, Sandman destroyed like a corner of New York here, like this part of the map. And now we have to clean this shit up. Like people are trapped in buildings, shit's on fire. Like, so like that is cool. I like that aspect.
The narrative of the game is by far the best part.
Absolutely.
Harry is an incredible part of this game, and like fleshing out their backstory, like him and Peter. There's that whole mission you kind of do that does that. Like this is integral parts to this, and it makes you really like understand like they are friends. They have been friends forever. Like they're in this together. Now the funny part is like obviously there was a controversy of like when Peter's face got changed, he still looks weird.
He does.
There's something about it, like his neck is really big. Like really big.
It looks weird.
He just looks weird. MJ looks terrible.
Her face is so weird.
In every like even like the still photos they use of her do not look right.
No.
But like Miles looks good. Harry looks great.
He looks great. Harry looks good. Yeah.
Norman looks good. Like it's strange to me that like and like Miles's friends look good. Maybe that's because they were made on the Miles Morales game and imported.
Yeah.
This also being said, I have not gotten to, and I know they exist, I have not gotten to the MJ or Haley missions. I'm not looking forward to those.
Oh, they have a mission with that Haley chick too? I don't look forward to that. I know about MJ.
Yeah.
Because you had to do that in the last game.
Yeah, you had to do
a big thing. Like,
too much
I don't want to fuck. I didn't come to Spider-Man, the game, to play as Mary Jane.
It reminds me of the old, remember the original Spider-Man game for PS2? And Xbox, where you had to play as Peter in like stealth missions for some points.
Yeah,
this is not Spider-Man. Like that is not what this is.
I remember that mission from the first game, and I hated that there too.
Yeah, so. I understand what they're trying to go for, but that's taking me too far out of this.
It is
the Peter and Harry mission. That's fine because that's like a kind of almost a tutorial of sense of people who maybe have not played the first couple ones.
They didn't bother me.
Yeah,
it didn't bother me at all.
It fits the context, but like I don't need to play as MJ. And I don't need to play as Haley. And I don't. The only other irk I'll talk about that I don't like is this game really wants you to web glide and play Pilot Wings for a lot of it. Superman 64. Go through the rings. Just go through these rings. Oh my God.
So that was the first thing I thought of.
Go through these rings. Now go through these rings. It's like.
So when they show you the wings and you get them, and the first thing that happened is these little rings come up. I had Superman 64 vibes right away. I'm like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to fly through these rings.
But like, and then launch these drones and make the drone go through the rings and make sure it goes through these rings. It's really like giving me weird Pilot Wings, Superman vibes. That it's just,
I don't know.
The gliding is fine. It's just, it's not fun to control. It feels like he goes down too fast.
It's too fast.
Really
it feels too
up.
frantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's skills to unlock it later because like the upgrade system in this game is far different than the first one where you like it's upgrading.
Well, you have three trees. You have one for Peter, you have one for Miles, and then you have a shared one.
But that's just for skills. I'm talking like suit upgrades.
Oh, like the suit upgrade stuff is even crazier.
Your health and attack and like traversal stuff is all tied to that. You have to get different sets of tokens for this and upgrade these. And it's too much. We were talking about it before. Like you and I both splurged $10 for that suits pack.
Only because it was the suits.
It's just worthless. Like I am someone who loves Spider-Man costumes. This is far too many Spider-Man costumes, many of which I don't think have ever existed before this game.
A lot of them are like
that's a weird.
A lot of it is like color variants too.
Yeah, like
so
weird color variants and stuff. Like you can make it black and purple instead. Who's going to use this? No one's going to use this.
even again, I go back to the Arkham games. Like you got a lot of unlockable suits in those games, not to this level.
No, there's too many.
It's like,
and they each have their own set of suits, and it's too many. And like they're missing.
Hey man, the ones that light up look cool as hell. Though,
there are, but they're missing ones I would want. Like I know they've been in like the last game or other Spider-Man games or whatever. Doesn't mean I don't want them again. Like you're missing a bunch of suits, but I mean, so far the game's incredible. I'll
easily have it done by the next time we record.
It's more of the same, but that's not bad.
No, I would say, again, you can get away with that once.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do this again.
Like, I would assume, I don't know how this game ends. I have no idea, but I would assume.
I know there's a credit sequence. That's all I know.
We know that the people that made Miles Morales are making the Wolverine game. So
that's got to be
maybe
next.
You don't get a 2.5 Spider-Man game. Maybe you just get Spider-Man 3 in 5 years.
Gotcha.
So, that's fine. I don't necessarily need a 2.5.
But hey, it's also another heavy reminder that AAA games like this take 5 years at least now
but
to
that's
come
okay.
out. So,
like I don't think I'd want God forbid it's in New York again. I wouldn't want that for another 5 years.
I wouldn't want that in 2026.
Yeah,
you know.
Very good. We'll have it finished by the time we talk.
Oh,
next
yeah. Well, we can transition into whatever else you've been playing. Playing one other big thing that I do want to play.
Huge AAA release I've been playing is I've played a lot of Honkai Star Rail. This game is really good. It's stupid good.
I really want to play it.
As someone who loves Genshin Impact and thinks that game is really good.
Is it Phantasy Star Genshin?
No. Well,
okay. Made you think on that one?
No, because it's turn-based.
Okay,
it's turn-based.
Okay, it's turn-based. Okay.
And it is Genshin Impact. If it was not open world and it was more of a traditional turn-based like role-playing game. That being said, there isn't a ton of like go around and just fight stuff. It is more like it's very story-driven. Like you were meant to like talk to people and go on missions and do this stuff and then, talk to people, go on missions, do this stuff. It's a gacha game just like Genshin where you spend train tickets for the train to come and drop off weapons when in this game weapons are cards. And which are just like upgrade cards. And then like characters and stuff.
If it's turn-based, how does that work if you're playing with other people?
You cannot play with other people. It is not co-op. The only multiplayer function it has is you can like save a character of yours, and then if I'm doing a specific set of missions, I could pick your character to be like my fourth.
Okay.
Which is very helpful because I have had random people. You just add random people to your friends list in this game because nobody gives a shit. And one guy added me like right away, and his dude is level 80 overpowered. So every time I go on one of these missions, come on in, man, you're the fourth. And he just wrecks everything, which is great for me because I automatically get because the grind of the game is getting upgrade materials and more cards to fuse into cards to upgrade the card. It's upgrade this, upgrade that, upgrade what everybody. Each character has like a different like element, kind of like Genshin does. But instead of like earth, fire, air, water, whatever, they're called like preservation and the hunt and like all these different things. But essentially, it's your main character starts as a physical character. I have an ice character, I have a fire character, and I have a healer. Now, the best part about this game is there's a L1 speeds up the battle.
Awesome.
And R1 auto battles most of the time.
Awesome.
It will not do like boss fights. That's fine. I'll do the boss fights. Battling's pretty simple. Press X to do a regular attack. Press triangle to do a skill attack. Doing a regular attack gives you a skill point. Using a skill attack takes one off. So you can kind of plan out like who's going to do what. The skill attack for the healer is to heal someone. The skill attack for the ice character is to shield someone. So it's like you kind of play out like ahead and like it's like Final Fantasy X where you could see the turn counter, see who's next. You can change that depending on who your characters and stuff are.
Okay.
But auto battle's pretty good. It can get you through like the repetitive fights pretty easy. I have all my characters maxed to where they can be now, but I have to play more to unlock the ability to upgrade them more. And
have you ever felt pressured to buy anything?
Absolutely not.
So it's exactly like Genshin. Where like, I never felt like I ever had to pay.
You never have to spend any real money on anything. Insane. You earn enough of like. This game has like 10 forms of currency, but
of course
you earn enough of the one to be able to buy tickets to do like the gacha pack opening kind of thing.
Okay.
It's fast enough to do it. Obviously that'll slow down at some point, but like the game has daily missions, weekly missions, a free battle pass, which is not hard to do. Like little mini like dungeons and stuff you can do to earn more stuff. The game is also very user friendly, like Genshin, where I really need this material to upgrade this person. You can push a button, it'll tell you exactly where to go to get it. You just have to go play this. So then you can immediately teleport to do that, to get the item to level the person up.
Okay.
The only downside is like it's one of those games where I think I have like 12 characters now, but I like these 4 that I have so much. I'm not probably ever going to use the other ones, especially since one of the ones I use so much is a healer. Like that's actually pretty important at a certain point in this game. And you know, like break status, a lot of them have to deal with like freeze and ice. So the ice character is very good, and my main character is very good. So it's tough to do that and figure out like, am I ever going to replace any of these people? Probably not. But yeah, it's really good. I've played like already like 24 hours of it. I finished. There's only like 3, quote unquote areas so far to go through like the story. I finished the first 2 already because it's not that hard. But this is a game they're going to add. It's incredibly popular. They're just going to keep adding more stuff to it. I've read it's as popular, if not more, than Genshin. I think I like. It's funny because I was trying to think like, do I like it more or less than Genshin? They're different. They're the exact same game, but they're different enough where it's like one is like run around, explore, and attack stuff, which I've already think I played enough Genshin where I don't need to go back, but maybe I will at some point. If I'm done with the Honkai content, I can go back. That's the point, is to bounce back and forth, because there's a whole ton of Genshin content I have not played. So that I could go back to that. But they're both like, it's stupid how good these games are for being, essentially free to play mobile games. Remember that? Like that's the whole point of these games. They're mobile games. Yeah, these games launched that way first. Yeah, but they look incredible on PS5. Yeah, like it's for a free to play game. It's one of the best free to play games I've ever played. Is Star Rail on PS4 as well? I don't know. Okay. Could be. Let's see. I'd be shocked if they cut that off of PS4. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's you can play it on a cell phone. Yeah, and like it's not for a game that's like that looks as good because it's animated. I can't imagine it taxes Genshin the system that much. Yeah, Genshin looks ridiculous. Insane. Yeah, it's on PS4. Okay, I kind of figured. There's no release date for it yet. Okay, so it's only on PS5 right now for console. It's coming. Okay. All right. That wraps up what you've been playing? Yeah, those are 2 relatively huge games, so that's all I've been doing. All right. Now, I know Matt's been playing the other big release of the week. Before we get to you, I'm going to read an email we got about it. And then I will let you go off because I have not played it. I have not played Mario Wonder yet. I think Matt or Dan, you said you've seen it played, but you haven't played it. That's well, in my house, that's going to end up being a Christmas gift for the kids. So I don't have a reason to play it right now. Yeah. And then you've played some of Matt. So email from Henry from Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, all of you had a chance to play Super Mario Wonder yet? If so, what do you think about a lot of the critics saying it is the best 2D Mario since Mario World? Hyperbolic or reasonable? What a way to lead you into it.
I know, right? I don't think it's the best Super Mario game since
2D Mario game, to be fair. But
so if I could,
that's a high bar.
Mario Wonder is a good game. Okay. I'm like in the 3rd level area of it. Only because my son saw me playing it and he was like, it's a 2-player, I can play with you. But my downfall is, like when I play Super Mario games, I'm running through everything. Like it's not a thing where I'm like stopping, spinning around. And the downfall is like I keep running him off the board. Yeah. So then that's kind of where it's at. I will say this. I feel like it's a good game. Okay. Of what I've played so far, there's a good sense of difficulties to the level where Like, if my son plays it, he's going to be challenged. You know, I'm playing right now, and there's like a level that's like 4 stars as difficulty. That's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's taken me a second. I still haven't beat it, but it's taken me a second to kind of get back into the swing of Mario and how the 2D concept of Mario works again. I will say, I feel like it's a good game, but I personally feel like Super Mario World is better.
Well, I don't think that's what people. I don't think people are saying it's better than World. I think they're saying it's the best 2D game since Super Mario World.
Well, and I think they're hyping it up to the point where, because it's new and because it's kind of fresh, that's kind of what they're leaning towards. But I don't really necessarily think that. I feel like it's good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would. I would label it as the best. And I guess my thing is, like, for me, I like the diversity of Mario and his suits.
Yeah.
And I really feel like there's not that in this game.
In this new one. Okay.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm leaning towards, where I'm not sure if I'm like a huge fan of this one yet.
Okay.
Or how I really feel about it, because I feel like they could have done a lot more so far where I'm at. And I just, like, there's a bunch of different stuff to collect. You collect your coins, of course, you know, like, you get 100 coins, you get a 1-up. But there's also, like, I forgot what they call them, but there's another purple coin you can collect that helps you earn more power-ups at, like purchasing spots.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And then with that, there's also the Wonder Seeds that you're collecting in each level of the game that helps you break through other parts of the stages to get to certain spots.
Interesting.
Too.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on in it so far. Am I having fun? Yeah. It's a good game. It's a lot of fun. But I guess I have to say I'm kind of too early into it to decide if I feel like it's the best since Super Mario World.
I hear you.
I think a big part of it was all of the 2D Mario games that they've kind of like really made since that point. Like New Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. 2, New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Those all just felt like kind of the same game, if that makes sense, where like they're kind of basic like Mario stuff, and whereas Mario World at the time was, you know, with 1, 2, and 3 being the only ones before it, like Mario World is a completely different class of like Mario.
It is.
Exactly.
These are this one it feels like it's the first time that they've actually tried to make something like new and different in the 2D line
world,
where it's like let's go crazy. Like, fuck it. The pipes move. The piranha plants sing during this level. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is, from what I've watched, it is insane. Like, it looks fun. The other ones just looked like more of the same stuff. Like, here's a nut suit and whatever. That's why at that time, like, everybody moved over to like Galaxy and even like 3D Land and 3D World and Odyssey, because those at least were 3D adventure games.
Right.
This finally seems like the first, I don't know, new.
We're like, moving it forward.
Not to say, you know, obviously there was new Super Mario Bros. This is the first like new 2D Mario game in a long time. Where they could go, and now they could use this as a point where they could, like, obviously they could make Wonder 2 or Wonder whatever, and like this could become its own franchise out of this.
And don't get me wrong, like the worlds are beautiful, and like the way they've done them, like you said, how the fact that piranha plants sing, there's like pipes moving everywhere. Like, it's interesting because there's also these points in the game, I don't want to call them checkpoints necessarily, where you like unlock a secondary level of the level that you're currently on to help collect. So like most levels have 2 Wonder Seeds. So you get one for beating the level, and you get one for completing like in like the I want to say the checkpoint part of the level in the middle of the game. However, you have to kind of like find that part. And I mean, like I said, I'm having fun with it. I will definitely tell you, and I definitely understand where you're saying how New Super Mario kind of felt like the same thing to the other one. So if you're really classifying it like that, then yeah, I would say Wonders is probably the best 2D Super Mario game that we've had since Super Mario World.
Okay.
Because in that aspect, the others, like you said, felt more like the norm of what they were kind of used to doing.
Yeah.
And Wonders is trying to break out of that. So, I mean, I will say I like the fact that there's a lot. So it's up to 4 players. It's not up to 3.
It is 4. Okay.
It is 4 players. And there are a lot of options. So it's like they've got Mario, they've got Luigi, they've got Peach, they've got Daisy. You can play as I think it's 3 different colored Toads.
But is it the same hectic shit as like New Super Mario Brothers, where it's like all 4 of you are on screen at once?
Yeah, see, and that's
I don't
my
like
downfall.
I'm not a big games.
I can do one other person, and I'm good with that. But to have 4 people is just chaos.
The problem is they have to be your same skill level.
Yeah,
exactly. Because my skill level and my son's skill level is not the same when it comes to Mario.
Yeah,
but then I feel bad because it's like the first game he's really shown interest in, that he wants to play with me. So I feel like I have to play with him. But then I feel like I'm also at that point where I'm like, I have to let him lead because I can't, because I just keep knocking him off the map, and then I have to revive him every 10 seconds. So I think that's really, I see where they were going, where they want it to be a family interactive type game. It's just very fucking chaotic when you have more than one person on the actual screen.
Yeah.
And that's I guess for me, that's my biggest pet peeve against all these Mario games is I don't like that. I don't like where I can have all of my family on the screen with me because they don't play like I play, and it's just not fair to them. So like I said, I actually was able to catch this game on somewhat of a deal.
Yeah.
I went up to GameStop. I traded a couple of things. I got extra 20% off. So I got 30%, take that back, 50% off on this game when I bought it. So it wasn't bad. It was only $30 when I got it. And I'm not really mad about that. I would say if you're on the fence about it, go ahead and grab it. It's a fun game. It's for it to be a new venture of Mario. It's entertaining. I will say that. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot more to do in this one than I feel like the other ones. So that's my take on Super Mario right now.
What else? What else have you been bouncing on?
Maybe next time we record, I'll actually have further to talk about it.
I mean, I hope to have at least started it by the next time we record. It's just I want to get through Spider-Man.
Yeah,
so.
No, I completely understand. I'm still playing Disney Speedstorm.
Okay.
However, I feel like I'm at the point now in that game where I have to spend money to kind of break, because I'm at this point where I'm playing other bots, but it's they're faster than I am. Their equipment is better than mine is.
Yeah.
And I'm landing myself in top 3, top 4. And I'm like, well, I know I should surpass them, but in order to do that, I'm definitely going to have to start buying coins and stuff, their upgrade packages, in order to do that. So it's kind of like a hesitation. Is this game?
Do you keep going?
Am I going to keep going with it?
Yeah.
Do I continue to keep playing it and put money into it? And then at that point, I just need to keep playing it because I don't want to put money into something I'm not continuously playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna tackle some more of it to see if I can maybe earn a little more upgrade to get to the point where I need to be, where I want to spend money. But it's still a good game. It's a fun racer game if you like Mario Kart and you just want Disney shit in your life. And then I started a game called Inside.
I remember Inside.
Yeah, it plays a lot like Little Nightmares in the way, side scrolling and whatnot.
It's from the people that did Limbo.
Mm-hmm. I will say though, I don't really know much about the story because there's really you start off just a kid running away from cops and dogs, and
I think it's supposed to be abstract, kind of like Limbo's story.
It's ambiguous, and you're meant to fill it in for yourself.
I never played Inside. I only played Limbo, but
I mean, it's not bad. I've probably played about an hour and a half into it.
Okay.
And it's easily caught on. I will say there's like only really 2 buttons, jump and there's an action button, but you can only use the action button when it's like required of you. Other than that, you can't really do anything with it. But I think I kind of screwed myself and I went to a point where I shouldn't have went because now I'm stuck. And I feel like in order to get past this, I'm going to have to go back to move forward. And the only down point is I don't think I have a save point prior to where I'm at. So I might have screwed myself to the point where I have to start over. And that kind of sucks. But it's pretty, it's from what I've caught of it, it's entertaining. And it's very puzzly if you like puzzle games. And I'm having a good time with it. Like I said, if I have to retract it and go very to the back, I might not play it for a little bit just because I might be pissed off at myself.
For sure.
But yeah, it's a good game too. And it was right now it's on Game Pass, so I mean I just figured I'd download it and try it from there. But that's me in a nutshell this past 2 weeks.
Well, we can move on to the news here and dig into some of that. So the first thing I have this week, we're new report makes disturbing allegations against the Lord of the Rings Golem developer. Fresh report for the Lord of the Rings Golem developer Daedalic Entertainment has made a number of disturbing allegations about the company, including reportedly enforcing uncompensated overtime, allegedly trying to pay staff below minimum wage, and a toxic work environment cultivated by an alleged abusive leadership. I mean, all of that is very clear in how the game came out.
All of that to turn out a completely awful game.
Like,
what's so worth it?
So, but again, that studio, that whole thing is done. They're not making any more games. So, but yeah, it's never good to hear. In light of all the Unity bullshit, that CEO is going to step down, which I just laughed when I read the headline because of course he is. Like, that was such a moronic thing.
Somebody had to take the fall, and there was an easy candidate for that one.
At that point, like with that backlash, they probably just like everybody in that boardroom pointed at that guy, like, "It's you,
Johnny." Okay, I'll go ruin some other company now.
Oh, for sure. We talked about it, I think, last podcast for Ubisoft's Call of Duty rival X Defiant has now been delayed indefinitely. I would love to know, like, what it is in that game that was so broken.
How did it fail certification? Look at all of the garbage that passes. How is it possible that did not? It's got to be like something real fucking scummy where it's like, turned out it was harvesting data the whole time or something. Selling your passwords. Some shit.
Jesus.
Biggest news story of this week. The PlayStation 5 Slim has been announced. It's real. I'm actually amazed now that I look at it because I just went and checked. We did not get any emails about this, which is shocking. We've talked about it. This thing, like, it's a fucking mess, and it was going to exist. Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised it's being announced for this year. I really thought it'd be like maybe at earliest spring, but it also kind of tells me like maybe that PS5 Pro thing is really coming next fall.
Well, you saw the other thing about the Slim is this is meant to replace the current one.
That's the thing.
It's not like
this isn't an option.
You could buy the one or the other. It is a replacement. So when all the big ones are gone, you can only get Slims.
So the important things to note about this is like if you still want a regular PS5, it's still $500 for this PS5 Slim with the disc drive.
Right.
It's the same price. Whatever.
Except
they do get you, there's one difference, which we'll get to in a minute.
It's a minute difference, but yes.
A minute difference, but where the real differences come is in the digital version. So the rumors are true. The hybrid, like removable disc drive is a real thing with this system. So for $450, the digital is priced. So it is $50 more than the current digital. It is $450 for this one out the gate. If you want to buy a drive down the road to play discs later on, that is $80. So you would now be paying more money than just to buy one with a disc drive.
It's crazy.
Which is crazy. And where we're talking about with that extra cost. So for whatever reason, they decided that It still comes with a horizontal stand, but if you want to stand your system vertically, that is a extra $30 stand now.
Not that you probably should be standing it up anyway, but
I have to in my entertainment.
I know you.
I have no choice.
Yeah, not that you should be, but to add a cost to that,
I will say, well, I'm normally against standing systems vertically. The PlayStation stand actually screws into the system.
Yes, like
so
that's
it is
at least
very
correct
sturdy.
about it. Yes.
And the Xbox is built to be
built
vertical.
to stand up.
So and it looks great. But this somehow they took this design which already looked ugly with the PS5, they've just made it uglier.
So to keep it the same, shrink it down.
It's keep it the same, but put this ugly gash in the side of it. They had to, because that's how you remove the disk drive. And this will, like we said, it will replace the current SKU. So if you really want a PS5 and you thought maybe the Slim would come with a price drop, which it clearly is not, I would say maybe go out right now and get one of the big boys and not the Slim. But the only positive I'll say about selling a disk drive separately for the Slim is, like, let's say you get a PS5 like regular Slim and that disk drive dies. Hey, you have an option to just go buy a disk drive rather than a whole new system.
I guess so, but then you're banking
how often
on
does
the
that really
savings
happen,
coming
though?
from your disk drive dying.
But yeah, and again, how often is that going to happen?
It's not.
So I don't know. It's incredibly, in my opinion, it's incredibly disappointing. I was really hoping for not a radical redesign. The other thing that really sucks too is, like, okay, remember a month ago when they announced all those cool new faceplates, like the really shiny ones?
Yeah.
None of those faceplates will work on this system.
Nope.
They have to put out new faceplates.
Yep.
That work specifically for the system, which they said in the spring. So if you're already in the hole, and those are $55 for those fins. If you're already in the hole, like I have black ones on mine, those aren't going to work on this Slim.
Nope.
So,
well, I think the important thing is if you currently have a PS5, there's no reason to get one of these.
No, like it does.
The technical difference is it has a slightly larger SSD.
Yeah,
that's it.
Instead of 725, it's a terabyte.
It's a terabyte. But again, when you take off what is actually available, it's not. Doesn't matter. And realistically, if you have a PS5 and you download stuff,
it's like you can install an extra game.
You should put in an SSD of your own anyway.
Yeah, and if you're somebody out there and the PlayStation is your main system, just buy another drive for it.
Get a 2 terabyte drive, put it in there. Those are like, you can get those for $100 now.
Yeah.
Like that. So get, you know what? Just get the no disk drive version to save the $50 and use that to buy a drive.
There you go.
If you're okay with going all digital, I will never go all digital until it's not feasible anymore. But
yeah,
right.
I thought this was funny. Lollipop Chainsaw. Remember they were going to remake this from the ground up. It's just a remaster now.
Never mind.
So apparently they decided that was too much. So this has been the other big hot button topic in the last week or so. I kind of alluded to it when I was talking earlier in the podcast here. Best Buy is apparently going to phase out sales of physical media by the end of this year. Now it is important. I was going to say it's important to note for Best Buy, it's movies and Blu-rays, not necessarily video games. But still, that's a huge shift. Like to just not have any of that.
It's weird because then it really leaves, because like if you go to like a place like Target or Walmart, they already don't get anywhere near as much as they used to.
Mm-mm.
So it's really going to come down to if you want to buy physical movies or collections of physical movies and not rely on having all of your stuff being streaming or digital, or you own like a movie library which could disappear tomorrow. You're gonna have to go to Amazon to buy all the stuff, which is okay.
Yeah,
but it still kind of sucks that like you can't just go in and.
Or I'll give you another good example. Or let's say you want to watch an older Disney movie that maybe is only streaming on Disney Plus, but they fucked around with it.
Yes.
And taken stuff out. Like for last night, my girlfriend, I promised her for a while. I'm like, well, I want to rewatch the first Pirates movie. It's literally been 20 years since I've seen this movie. And I was like, we should watch it. The Disney Plus version of that movie has stuff they've cut out of it.
Interesting.
So I have it on my server, So we just watched it there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, like that's a big thing, at least on Disney Plus, where there are a lot of movies that they've edited.
Well, it's like,
it's into that territory too. Like,
well, it's like I told you too. Like, I don't really buy movies anymore because we have your server essentially.
Yeah.
But the difference is like when this final Beyond the Spider-Verse movie comes out, right? They're going to make a 3-disc set of that. That would be good to own. Like, when Indiana Jones, because that one's coming out soon,
December,
but there is no 4-movie set of that yet, but they're going to do that, or 5-movie set of that. They're going to do that. That would be a good one to own. But now I have to rely on Amazon to actually get these. Best Buy also did, not that you could ever get them, but they did like cool steelbooks for movies and stuff too. So if it's a movie you really like, then you can't get them, but they existed, like they made them.
I wonder if they're going to start clearancing that stuff out then.
It's weird. They're going to have to at some point because
I've ironically bought more physical movies this year than like last 4 or 5 years combined.
Well, it's like,
which is weird.
Well, I mean, things go in cycles. I mean, look at vinyl and stuff like that. But like we were talking about earlier,
that's a real heavy topic.
Like we were talking about earlier, your Best Buy would be a perfect example of. So how many rows in your Best Buy are video games?
So the Best Buy that I was just in, and that's what I was kind of alluding to, is like they have 3 rows, right? 3 aisles that are all like, it's a half of the aisle, not even, is dedicated to actual games. And then like a display where like an interactive display of the system. And then the other part of it is either controllers or just other stuff for the system. And then they'll throw in there like those 1-up arcade things.
Right.
You know, and it's like you guys could combine all 3 of these systems into one half aisle and be done with it.
Does yours have do you have Lego and trading cards at yours too?
Yeah.
And like toys.
One of them has an aisle of just like toys at the end of it.
Which is fine. Best Buy probably should sell that stuff too. There's no reason not to. Lego, fine. Lego should be anywhere it possibly can be, to be fair. It's so popular again now. But think about what we were talking about earlier, where your Best Buy would be a perfect example of, you cut all the video game stuff down to one aisle. And there's a Nintendo section is half of one aisle. Xbox is half of one. PlayStation is, maybe that's a full one because there's more of that stuff. Or Nintendo's a full one. But you put like the interactives, you do the Toys R Us ticket system like we did, like we were talking about, where it's just like the cover art and a ticket and you can flip it up and look at the back, whatever.
Yeah.
All of that could be in one. And then like, you know, and because the movies are in, you know, a different part of the store, taking up space it really doesn't need to take up. That could be an aisle next to video games. Shouldn't that just be where it is? Like, hey, this is where all the physical media is. And then that can be like toys and stuff. But I get where they're coming from, because I doubt that physical media sales for movies and Blu-rays are that high anymore. A lot of times people wait for sales on Amazon or whatever, because if you do go to Best Buy, like some of these movies are still like $35. It's like, well,
yeah, like if you wait for like a first run 4K coming out, it's like $30-$35.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's important, like you were saying before, it's important to note that it's just movies and Blu-rays for now. They said they're going to keep video games, which I hope they do, because that is my favorite place to pick up games now. But because it's the easiest.
Yeah. And then on the back of this, there's a heavy rumor going around that Walmart is planning on phasing out physical video games, starting with the Xbox, which is interesting.
If you're going to phase out one system, isn't that the one you phase out?
It would be, simply because everything's just Game Pass now anyways.
Nintendo can't be phased out. It just can't be.
No. And that's the thing. It's like Nintendo, like even with whatever their new system that they're planning, which I'm sure we'll find out. I still think it's going to be the spring when we find out. Yeah. It'll still be physical. Yeah. I think it'll still be, I think they're smart to keep the little SD card things that we've been using.
Yes.
They could easily double the storage size on those and be fine. So, but Nintendo, I don't think Nintendo physical, I don't think that ever goes away.
No, well, a lot of that's because of Japan still. Yeah. Because it's always like on the go, tiny sections, like, you know, you don't have internet everywhere you go, like that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I could Walmart get rid of Xbox stuff? Yeah, I don't think people would notice.
Oh, yeah.
It's all Game Pass. Yeah. Anything you want to play on Xbox.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I was in my Walmart here the other day, like I just looking at the new Xbox games. It's like, here's Starfield for $70. here's a Redfall still for $70.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Like, nobody's walking in the store buying Redfall for $70. Nope. So
not at all.
Like, yeah, it's again, I hate the idea that we're gonna soon be in the world where that stuff goes away and it's even harder to purchase physical media, but it is what it is. It's the inevitable route that we're going. So
yeah.
Not to any surprise here, Halo's next campaign is under development. They're just referring to it as the next campaign because honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just make a new campaign and shove it into Halo Infinite. Maybe we aren't going to wait for the next Halo. Maybe that'll be what this is, but is likely in development on Unreal 5. So they're going to ditch the very heavily stitched together engine that they used for Infinite in favor of Unreal 5, which makes a lot of sense. So,
it seems like shocking. A lot of people are going to making stuff on Unreal.
We finally know who will voice Vincent Valentine in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's Matt Mercer. That's fine.
Like, can I ask a question about this? Like, was anyone A, surprised, or B, really care that much? Like, he does stuff in everything. It's like when they announced that Troy Baker's going to be a voice in a game.
I was going to say my short list for this was
care anymore.
Troy Baker, Matt Mercer, or Nolan North.
Yeah, it's like one of them
as a distant third. Yeah, so
like,
and that's fine.
Those castings are never surprising. They're all good at what they do, but like they try to make it seem like it's a big deal. We got Matt Mercer to play an assist character in the new Final Fantasy game. Wow. Really?
Not a shocker.
No.
Yakuza spinoff Like a Dragon Gaiden will not launch with an English dub when it comes out next month.
Here's a hot take. Don't release an English dub for that game. Doesn't need one.
I mean, as someone who only has played Yakuza 7, I enjoyed the English voice acting in that game.
Those games are about a Japanese person who lives in Japan.
Yeah, I'm
doing
not the
Japanese things in a Japanese town, and it's all Japanese.
I'm not a diehard Yakuza fan. I love that game, and I look forward to Infinite Wealth.
These games do not need English voices. If that's your breaking point to play a game, a Yakuza game, the game wasn't made for you in the first place.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would say, and I would argue, even while like I look at it and go, I'd like to have English voice acting at least. Like, I think that's kind of where most Yakuza fans are. They don't care.
It's got to be 90%.
They just want the game.
Yeah. It's got to be 90% of people are like, oh, wow,
if that's the breaking point,
okay.
Let me put it that way. If that was the breaking point of getting that game this November versus next April, most of those fans would say that's fine.
I just don't even consider. Maybe that makes me sound like snotty and stuff, but like I prefer characters to speak the language of the place they're from.
Yeah,
like that is
fair enough.
That goes for any country. If this was a game set in fucking Poland or something, they should speak Polish, and it should just have subtitles. Like it's not. I mean, you know what I really appreciate. Not to bring up Spider-Man again, but the fact that like obviously Miles Morales' mother is Hispanic, right? Puerto Rican. Yeah. And she will speak Spanish, and they just subtitle when she speaks Spanish. It's great. And sometimes he'll speak, and the way they just kind of fluidly go, it's done so fucking well that does not bother me at all. Let me ask you something about her in that game, and this is like maybe a tiny spoiler, but I don't know what happens yet. I don't think you do either. So twice, she's brought up someone she's dating. But it's going to be someone bad. It has to be someone, right? It has to be someone bad. No, I agree. Yeah, because when they brought that the first time, she's like, "I've been on a couple of dates, and he seems nice, and I'd like you to meet him." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But then the second time, she's like, "He's coming over," and then he has to leave. I'm like, "Oh God, it's got to be somebody." My guesses are either it's somebody very bad or Craven. That would be good if he's just like decked out in a little suit and everything. I was thinking, I would think either they go that route or they play the long game, and for whatever reason, it's just fucking Norman Osborn. No, because she knows him. You don't think it would be? She does know him? From the Miles Morales game, that's a huge plot point. She does. Okay. Yes, that could never be it. So if it's Craven in like a fucking suit, I'll laugh. It's got to be like Spider-Man Homecoming, Liz's dad is Vulture type shit. I think so, like, too. It's got, because that's twice. I can understand one time it's an offhand thing, like she's getting over her husband's death, like I'm dating somebody, fine, whatever. But then the guy literally is gonna show up, and he has to leave.
Yeah, and that was where I started thinking about it too.
They teased me with revealing who it is, and they have not done it. So it has to be someone. Craven is like a funny one. It could be just because of, like, I would love to see him show up.
It would be a good,
and it's got like a collar
homecoming
that's like
shit moment. Yeah. It really would though.
But I'd be like, oh shit! If it'll be like a smaller guy that only like fans of the thing would know. And maybe he hasn't been someone yet in here, and it could be something real bad
down the road.
Like, it could be Spider-Man 3 or whatever. But I just thought that was funny because I wanted to see if you noticed it, because
I did, and I totally forgot about it. But yeah, it is the kind of thing where I'm like, no, it's got to be someone bad,
somebody, right? What if it's Michael Keaton?
Hell yeah,
he's the new Vulture.
I could not remember this, but like, did he fight Vulture in any of these games? Yeah. It was the first one? Okay. Because he like made a reference to Vulture.
You fight Vulture and Electro at the same time.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
That was one of the best things. That was one of the best things that first game did, was multiple villains at the same time, like Rhino and Scorpion at the same time.
But it made sense. It worked.
Yeah. And it actually like fit, because like you constantly have to manage one person while managing the other person, and they both have different ability sets. So it's a shit show, because like Scorpion would jump around and shoot acid at you while Rhino was running around chasing this thing, and it's just a nightmare. That was one of the coolest parts of that first game.
Next news article: Bethesda's Pete Hines has announced his retirement after 24 years at Bethesda. It's surprising he wouldn't just. Why would you just hang on for that one extra year and making it even 25? But whatever.
Oh, well,
he's been there a long time.
He's not going to live long enough for them to release Elder Scrolls 6. So I mean, why not? Might as well leave.
You have to imagine that Todd Howard isn't too far behind him, right? Like, you think
Todd will get PS6 out the door,
and then he's out. And that's what I think
probably
too,
done
at that point, because I think he even kind of alluded to it when they talked about the release of Starfield. He kind of said, like, these games take me like a decade.
Yeah,
I think I have enough for one more decade.
Like, so obviously ES6 is next. Have they said, or maybe this is a fever dream, have they said anything about Fallout like 5 or whatever? I wanted to say I read something where it was like
they have not
talked about it. But
they have loosely mentioned it, but they have not, like, they aren't doing the dumbass thing of like, here's a teaser video, like, with the title.
Because realistically, that is what's next.
They have said many times that was a mistake with Elder Scrolls 6. So I would think so, but I also feel like at that point, you get an Elder Scrolls 6 out the door, I think that team can go ahead and make a Fallout 5 without Todd Howard.
Yes. For sure. Yeah.
So, whereas, like, it's been a while. I mean, other than releasing Skyrim 800 times in 800 different places, it's been a while for an Elder Scrolls.
Well, if they want to make the game of the people, they make New Vegas 2 is what they do. But
I think, that was Obsidian. And again, that's been rumored for a while that they're just talking to Obsidian about making New Vegas 2. And honestly, at this point, if Microsoft wants to drop, they are making that other game,
aren't they? Isn't that them?
They're making Avowed, and they're also making that other game. Yeah, they're making that other game that kind of looks like BioShock Infinite.
Yes,
I can't think of the name of it.
The Clockwork, was that the Clockwork one?
Clockwork or something
Revolution
like that. Yeah,
or something.
Clockwork Revolution.
The game looks cool, but it's a BioShock clone.
It just looks BioShock Infinite.
It's not even like trying to hide it.
But there have been rumors for a while that they've been talking with them about making New Vegas 2, which again, like, that's a good mic drop moment for Microsoft. Hey, we're just even if they were just put out there, we're making New Vegas 2. That would get enough kids excited. So, a big announcement. Not shocking that this is happening. We talked about it at length earlier this week. Analog has announced an enhanced console that will play every N64 game in 4K. So the next Analog system will be a 64. We did it. Maybe now people will realize, like, when they see these games in full 4K, ooh, I don't know.
It was like I told you. The first question I asked was, will it make the gameplay better? Because if not, then it does nothing.
No. Do you think the controller is redesigned kind of like those like retro fighters controllers, or do you think they keep it just like a controller you would expect? That's a good question,
because the 64 is very analog heavy.
That controller is such a hellscape.
But it is a nightmare, and it's not conducive to hold anymore. Whereas something like a Switch Pro controller does it. Like, you can use that.
Yeah.
Like, I bought that stupid one for the Switch just to have it. But I would assume they redesign it. I would assume it looks more like a Pro controller And maybe they do a thing where like get an adapter and this Switch one could work, or get an adapter and the Retro Fighter ones could work because those are good too.
I can see it.
I mean, hooray, we did it. Like the price on this is huge. Because if this is $400, it can fuck off into the sun.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. I told you, I said, even though I hate the 64, the idea of having a true to life one
HDMI,
now, is worth $200.
I agree with that.
Because again, the 10 greatest games on that system are 10 great games. But it's almost not worth mentioning anything else.
Five wrestling
games.
Super Mario. I
don't think Super Mario, but you have Ocarina and Majora. Perfect Dark.
Ocarina, Perfect Dark.
Banjo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Tooie. I don't think Tooie's as good as Kazooie, but maybe.
Would you still say? Why can't I think of the name of this game? It plays horrendously today, but it was a huge game when it came out. It's in rare replay. You know what I'm thinking of?
Gemini?
Yeah.
I fucking love that game.
It's unplayable today.
Unplayable today.
Yeah.
When they put
I love that game
replay,
when it came out.
When they put it in rare replay, I was like, I will play Jet Force Gemini again. And then I played it and went, nope, I don't know how the hell I played this.
I don't know how I played it back
because
then
remember,
either.
on rare replay, they even went in and they patched in another control scheme for it because they realized that it didn't work. And even that one didn't work. So I just maybe if I could play it again with a 64 controller.
At the time, I loved that game. Going back to rare replay. Yeah. Oh my god,
it's so good for a 64 game. It is crazy, like how expansive of a game that is. Mm-hmm. And like you get halfway through the game, and then it like almost like I don't want to say it restarts, but then it opens up like you have to replay everything because you had to rescue. The problem I had with that game is you had to rescue all those bears, and mine glitched and one disappeared, so I had to restart the whole game. But I loved that game. That's on my list, but I fully admit that is 1997.
You just wanted so you could play good old StarCraft 64, right?
Oh my god, Buck Bumble.
Damn. Quest 64.
Everybody's favorite Quest 64.
You can finally do it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, there's just all the bangers.
The bangers.
It might be better to play GoldenEye on that than on the Switch or the Xbox.
Or the Xbox port, yeah. No.
Although Perfect Dark is better. So like it's a cool thing. Here's a question though. So now they've done everything up to the 64. They've done a Turbo Duo. They've done the Pocket, which can also play Game Gear and Turbo and other things and Links. Are they done? Because everything after this is CD based.
Well, and that's the question. It's like I think it's probably really hard for them to go to Sony and be like, hey, we really want to do a PS1.
Remember, a lot of this stuff is like copyrights that expire. So they can make what they want and make it close to it. But everything has been cart based. So do we get I don't know. PS1?
I would love it.
That would be cool.
Even though I have ways to play those games just fine, I would totally get an analog PS1, especially if it's a PS1 PS2 combo.
I think that's pushing it, but
I think
PS2 games
too.
We're finally at a point where PS2 games are like emulatable at this point.
Yeah.
For a long time,
I think at best you either get that or maybe do you do a Dreamcast?
I don't know. Dreamcast is a weird one.
It's a weird one.
I don't even know if Sega acknowledges that existed, but like a PS1 would be an interesting one.
I'd be all in on a PS1. I'd be all in on a Dreamcast to do that too, to be fair. But
yeah, I would be all in on it for sure.
I'd be all in on a PS1. So
yeah, it's interesting to see where they go from here. Maybe they just like release updated versions of ones that already exist again. Like make another. Now they can go back and make another Nintendo that's $200.
I was gonna say. I'm amazed they have never gone back to that NES that was like, $500?
Yeah, not that I need it because technically my Pocket can do that. My Pocket can do anything cartridge-based, to be fair. But, it's weird. Like the Analog 64. Like the other thing is like, are these going to pre-orderable or are they going to be a shit show? Like the Pockets were.
It's going to be a shit show, I guarantee you. I thought this is funny. Payday 3 developer apologized for lack of communication as mid-October first patch is still a no-show. Like, still, that game's kind of broken, I guess.
Bad news.
What a mess.
That's
what a
terrible.
Mess. Couple Phil Spencer articles as the Activision Blizzard deal is now complete. So we're done.
We did it.
They put out a little hype trailer. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Well, Phil Spencer
has like Crash and stuff in it, and
like it had Crash. It had like the Warcraft orcs like talking about like seeing friends on the horizon, and it was very hokey.
Yeah, it was.
But whatever. Phil Spencer has reiterated 100% parity for Call of Duty. There will be no exclusive skins. There's not going to be exclusive betas between any platforms. Yeah. Like, the only thing exclusive you're going to get is it will be on Game Pass.
Yes.
And that's the one thing. So.
Well, he hated, like, and then, if you go back in time, like, Microsoft used to have the Call of Duty stuff, but that was before
he didn't like it then either.
He was also not in charge yet.
No, that started way back in the 360 era, way before he was in charge. So he didn't like it even then. I think that was kind of a thing where, like, Sony kind of stepped in, cut a new deal, and they kind of just let that go.
Yeah.
So. Phil Spencer's also all in on Xbox Studios revisiting older owned IP, which is cool. I mean, he talks about that all the time.
He does. He likes to talk about that stuff. Like, but
I mean, now that they own Activision, certainly somehow Hexen is revisited, right? Like, be it they go contact Night Dive Studios and like
he talks about
make a remaster of that or something.
I think you're missing the big
one. Will
man.
come with Hexen.
You're missing the big one, Skylanders.
You would think now that they own Activision, if they really wanted to do something family friendly, to go back to Skylanders.
I'm half joking, but there's a world where Skylanders could.
There's a world where it could.
And I think the world Skylanders comes back in is it embraces the first version of that game, and it's not like the break them in half or the giants or like the crystals.
No,
none of that shit.
No,
it's just here's 30 guys to collect.
It became too much.
Well,
there was too much
they had to
do with
themselves every time.
So
what if they just came back out and they said,
here's a portal. Here's a portal. 30 characters.
It's wireless portal. Here's 30.
I always thought it was a really cool idea.
Yeah, it was. So it was a fun game too. It's like
I wasn't going to jump into that. Yeah,
but here's a portal. Yeah. It's wireless. Here's 30 characters. Mm-hmm. And it's the 30 like major characters from the first game, Spyro. But then they also but if you want to make it a Spyro Crash crossover game, done.
There you go.
Yeah.
Think about that. Former Sony mascot Crash Bandicoot now owned by Microsoft.
Give me a Lilith Skylander, and I'm good.
There you go. Like Lilith in the fucking Call of Duty with the gun.
Insane.
Did you ever watch that trailer?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They have the one that broke me wasn't that. It's fucking Skeletor from He-Man is in that game now. And there's a shot of him just running around with a machine gun. And that's the one that made me lose it because, like, this is.
You mean Call of Duty Fortnite?
It's what it is.
It is.
Well, and like, that was the weird thing when I watched the trailers. Like, they have fucking Spawn is there. They have all these. I'm just like, this isn't Call of Duty anymore. This is Fortnite. So,
yeah.
That Lilith thing, though. She's just running around with her giant wings. It's like literally you have shots of like the army men you expect to see from Call of Duty, and then here's fucking Lilith from Diablo with the machine gun and her giant wings just mowing people down with the machine gun. Like, no.
Make Diablo Skylanders, man. Let's do it.
Starfield was the best-selling game of September, even with Game Pass. So even with that game being on Game Pass, still PC, the number one selling game.
Right.
We're talking PC. Okay, so this is people that bought it on Steam because they want to mod the game.
Right.
Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But it's not shocking that was the number one game of September. No. It also had the most time. It literally came out the first day of September, so it had all.
It was a big streamer game. It was, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, that's what it was.
Vampire Survivors has got another major free update that adds achievements, a new map, 2 new characters, I believe, some new items to pick up. I need to go back to that game. They've added a lot of shit since I last played that game.
Yeah.
So I need to go back. And every time they put out even paid DLC, it's always like under $2 and adds a ton of content.
That game gets by in word of mouth and like it just.
And then the last fun article I put in here that I know you'll enjoy, Dan. Just a fun news article that came out the other day.
Upset me.
Oh, that's right.
I don't have this.
Okay. Less than 1% of Xbox players have the day one achievement So why don't you explain what that is? Then?
Well, so when the Xbox One came out, the launch titles, there were two versions. There was the Day One edition, which came in a black box.
System.
Yeah. In a black box, and it came with a controller that said Day One on it. And it had a little
which
code.
I still have.
I still have mine that I didn't get from that. But and it had a code in it for an achievement. And that achievement was literally you own the Day One Xbox One. And that was the only way to get it. There was never any like other releases or anything like that. It was only in those boxes. And so I had one of those systems reserved because I wanted the system, and obviously like being an idiot, cared about the achievement too. But then it was revealed for my conference gift, I was getting an Xbox One, but it wasn't going to be a Day One edition.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that kind of blows, because if I'm getting one, what's the difference? It's the same amount. Remember, the same price.
It was literally the same price.
Nothing different else different about it. And so I tried to even like convince my boss. It's like, can't I just return this and buy the one I reserved? Because nobody loses anything. SKU. Nobody loses anything. Yeah. It's a different SKU. No, you can't. Can't return conference gifts. Okay, well, I understand that if it's like returning it for cash or whatever, or credit or whatever. It's not. I'm just swapping it. No, you can't do that. The best, they would let me trade in that one to buy my Day One edition.
Lose more than half the value.
I'm not doing that because I'm not stupid. So that would always kind of piss me off. But complaining about getting a free system, but
it's not shocking that less than 1%. I mean, that really puts into light how unpopular the Xbox One was at launch.
Yeah, one, it's also that's 10 years ago.
How rare that thing was. Yeah,
isn't that 10 years ago? Now?
10 years this year. Fucking this next month. 10 years.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
That's not surprising.
So, no. I wasn't surprised. I just put it in here because
it's a funny one. Yeah.
Remember at the beginning of that generation too, they tried to do a whole sort of things with achievements that they kind of abandoned. Like they would do like ones that were only in games for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And like dumb shit like that.
They weren't called achievements. They were called challenges.
Entitlements?
Something like that. But it would be like, you have to, in the first week of Dead Rising 3, do this.
Yeah.
And then they dump that pretty quick.
It was like within the first 3 or 4 months. Yeah. It was. Yeah. They did a lot of turnaround on that system the first couple months.
They did a lot of turnaround and all the stuff they were doing. Like, remember Avatars and Avatar Awards? Those disappeared.
God, yeah.
They just, and there was kind of thing where they never even really talked about them going away. It's just like, those aren't going to be a part of the next system. That's just all they ever said.
Well, I still remember the big like commitment at launch. This system, the entire generation is going to have this Kinect tangle to it within 4 months. That's done.
Whoops.
We're
untangling the Kinect ever had was reading QR codes for codes.
Yep, I used that. I literally
number one thing
until I finally got rid of it. Yeah, I literally had mine hidden behind my TV, off to the side, so I could just scan the QR code.
Awesome.
And that was it. At some point, so I finally was like, I don't need to have this hooked up anymore. No. All right. Well, we could jump into emails here. Our first email comes from Grant from Redacted, so you know what that means. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, I wanted an email in after last week's episode where the call was put out about the PlayStation Portal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This thing sucks. I hate it with a passion, and no one gets what it actually is. I'm an SL, and I probably get 2 to 3 customers a day that will ask me about reserving it, which is fine, but then they will start talking about how they can't wait to have the next version of the Vita. We all know that people don't really read anymore, but I'm so fucking tired of having to explain to the average customer this thing will not do what they actually want it to do. And your comments about grandparents thinking that they can get this thing as a portable PS5, totally valid.
Yeah.
I've had that conversation more than once. This is by far one of the dumbest products that Sony has ever put out. Holiday is going to be hell. Thank you for taking my email. So I'm not surprised.
No, it's exactly what we thought. Like, the saying the comment about the grandparents, it's because that's stuff we had to deal with all the time.
Oh my god!
Do you remember the one year where remember when VR headsets became really popular, but the ones that you like had to put your phone in, they weren't VR headsets. They were goggles. And of course, GameStop got on that trend, a year or two too late. So the one year they sent us like 15 or 20 of these stupid goggle things, and they were like, try to sell all these this Black Friday. It's like, these are garbage. Like, these have to have, they're just screens for your phone. But then I had to explain to multiple people, like, these are not VR headsets. It's not a VR headset for $30, lady. Like, it is a pair of goggles that you put a phone in. We're talking about stuff as stupid as that for a $200 controller with the screen in it. God, I can't even imagine I mean, I know. To be fair, I do know the conversation these people are having, but like every day, and it's only going to be worse when it comes out. It's only going to be worse after Christmas when people are returning these things.
Isn't it like first, second week in November?
Yeah, it's soon.
It's pretty soon.
I keep getting like emails from Best Buy, like, "Hey, you want one of these?" No, don't.
I mean, I keep seeing the IGN article pop up, like it's back in stock at Walmart. Like, apparently, the thing's selling out of pre-orders. Which
but that doesn't mean anything. How many are there?
True.
We don't know.
I don't know. We don't know.
And it doesn't mean they're all getting picked up.
Yeah,
but or not getting tried to be returned.
For sure.
But I love it.
I'm not shocked at all.
No.
I really not.
You said we actually got a bunch of them about this, right?
We have a bunch more. I will sprinkle some more in for the next time that we record. Yeah. A lot of them were similar. But yeah, I got here's what I'll say. I got the gist of it, and there was not a single email that I got that was positive about it. Yeah. Literally every single was like either like fuck this thing or I'm so tired of this conversation. Like it pretty much was that. So I will sprinkle some more of those in because if I read all of those like back to back, it'd be redundant. But I do read everything that we get. So, but yeah, I picked the email that was honestly the longest about it. But yeah, I put the call out. I got the response I expected, which was most people that work at GameStop hate that thing. So not a shocker.
Nope.
Next email we have comes from Mark from Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Hey guys, I was curious if Dan or Matt stream at all. I caught both of Kyle's Horrorfest streams with Twin Peaks and Redfall. Thanks.
I don't, but I have.
I don't know. Do you have the capability if you wanted to?
I know, but I was going to ask you about it because like this is kind of. I don't know. This is kind of dumb, but I've been kind of putting something together where, because I have my Pocket, right?
Yeah.
I have the dock for it. Mm-hmm. I can play any cartridge game ever. So I've kind of been making like a master list of everything and hunting down every version of things I would ever want to play.
Sure.
So I've been thinking about like using that to just stream like retro stuff, like Super Nintendo stuff specifically, because that's my favorite system of all time. And I mean, I know it's your guys's too, and it's like anybody who is our age, it's probably up there. So I was actually gonna ask you for some tips because I think I would really just need. I mean, I need like an Elgato or something to actually like capture this shit. But I've got
even the Elgato I have, I will tell you, is out of date, which is like for the most times for me, like if it's a PC version of the game, I'll try to stream that. If I have to hook up the Elgato, it's either because my Elgato is still a 1080p. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. So I don't. If I have to hook up like a Series X or a PS5, I can do it. But when I play it back, I'm going to see it in 1080p.
Well, and that's why I wasn't ever thinking about doing anything like intensive. Like I'm thinking about doing 480p Super Nintendo.
You could get like the Elgato I have now pretty relatively cheap, and it's fine. I've never had any problems with it. You probably could do everything through a laptop if you really wanted to. So.
I've got a laptop. I've got
the Mac.
Relatively new iMac. Like this thing could easily handle doing that. So it's just I really just need the piece, and like I'm about when I talk about like I'm building a Super Nintendo library, I'm talking like I have every Europe only released. I'm working on getting every Japanese only released.
Yeah,
I have ways to get translated versions of a lot of stuff. Like it's a lot of work to kind of put it together the way I want it to be, but.
That's what I kind of did with those mini systems for a while. Like I did with the NES and the Super NES.
That's essentially what I'm doing. It's just on a grander scale. Because I'm also getting like Nintendo, Genesis, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Turbo, this stuff.
Even for me, like I don't stream very often. The October time of year is probably where I stream the most. Everything else I do is just YouTube videos because it's just easier. So
I've been meaning to play more Super Nintendo
I don't dislike
stuff.
streaming.
Yeah,
I don't dislike streaming, but I like for the most part, like I'd rather just put it out in video form.
Well, sure, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I've been meaning to try to play a lot more Super Nintendo stuff because there's a ton of stuff I never played, especially now these days where some of these games are $400, $500, $600.
The other thing I'll tell you that, at least on the YouTube side, that kind of sucks about streams, because sometimes sometimes you don't know going in, is like if something is copyright. So, for example, I'll give you like Twin Peaks. That game immediately, right music. After it's done, I didn't get a copyright strike, but I got hey, these 8 fucking songs in this game. And the funny thing is, I left the video. It just, for me, it means it won't be monetized. None of my videos are monetized anyway, so I don't care. But I've gotten a lot of hits on that stream afterwards because there's not a lot of videos of it on YouTube. Yeah. So
I've been thinking about doing Super Nintendo stuff. I think that might be fun. Or
I also stick to YouTube because I don't like Twitch at all.
No, I don't think I would go that far. YouTube would be easier. But
you could make the thing about YouTube is you could, even if you just made a channel and just made it, you stream these games, just leave up archives, I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, I think that, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. So I'm thinking about trying to get that going maybe next year, and then I'll let people know on here if I get it up and running. But we'll
talk about it off.
Well, and I think there's some. I think there'd be some fun in that because there are ways to do co-op games in that game. On that system over the internet. So we could stream it together. So there's plenty of ways we could hang out and.
Can you still buy those pockets, or is it just impossible?
They just did the translucent colored ones, which were sold out immediately. They did a glow in the dark one, which sold out immediately. I think
that's cool.
I think they're relatively easy to get. The translucent ones were cool though; they were fantastic colors. If I didn't have one, I would have tried to get the orange, but they made a purple and all that kind of stuff, which were really neat.
That's cool.
So it's possible, but I think we should look into it and setting up multiplayer SNES streams would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be dope.
About you, man?
So I have a Twitch channel. I don't get much time on it, just because my schedule just kind of conflicts with a lot of stuff. But on all of the platforms, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch, you can find me at OMD Classic. So O is in Oscar, M is in Mike, D is in Delta Classic. I think on Twitch it's OMD Classic 1. On YouTube, I just started up a channel where I'm taking clips of Apex games that I play and I'm trying to upload them there. I actually I think back in July, I uploaded a pickup video I did. I have another one I'm working on now where I talk about the pickups I got for September and October. Ironically, the guy I was working with finished my logo for my YouTube channel.
That's cool.
And actually, since he took a little while to get me the logo, he did an intro video for me.
That's nice.
For free. So that's cool. I'm going to work on that this week, putting them together and then throwing it out on YouTube. So if you want to give me a follow, you're more than welcome to. My intention is, I've got a relatively new PC that runs a lot of different stuff. I've got everything like OBS on it already. I've got the initial setup. The thing I'm looking for right now is a place to put it all, because I was streaming in my office, but the downfall is where my computer is. There's a big window behind me.
Okay.
And
I know what you mean.
If I don't have, I got to get blackout curtains to put on it. But then it kind of.
Or it looks like you're in a holy light.
Right, exactly. So then I've been thinking well, what if I move that PC up to my gaming room and stream from there? But then the downfall is there's so much stuff in there that I have to find a spot to put things so that I can move stuff around. So it's just been me trying to find the right spot to put everything, and then kind of having myself put together so I can just automatically kind of go right into it. But I do intend on starting to stream. I play a lot of Apex on my own when I'm by myself, but I would like to start beefing up my Steam library so that when I do start, I can kind of carry that over and kind of play. So, if you want to give me a follow, be my guest, get my notifications whenever I post stuff. I'd greatly appreciate it.
my YouTube shit's been stagnant for a while, and then for whatever reason, the last 2 videos I did blew up a lot. Like I did one on the PlayStation 5 Slim, and then for whatever reason, apparently there are a lot more Frasier fans out there than I thought.
I saw
that Frasier video did tremendously well. I got like almost 30 new followers off that video alone. I was like, dope. Wow, people, and I will tell you from all the comments, that Frasier video, probably most comments I've gotten on a video this year, a lot of opinions on that Frasier reboot.
People love tossed salad and scrambled eggs. So
there you go.
There you go.
Tom from Aurora, Colorado. Hey guys, I'm curious now. The ABK deal is finally over and it's all said and done. Do you think Microsoft is poised for one hell of a comeback in 2024? Or do you think that Sony retaliates with any major acquisitions of their own? Thanks. I mean, I think they've already kind of started their comeback a little bit with Starfield. I think you see the sales of Starfield very well on top of it being on Game Pass. I think now, at least in this generation, people are starting to talk a lot more positively about Microsoft for the first time in a while this generation. So I think that already does them well going into 2024. My thing now would just be show us the games in 2024 instead of just keep delaying them.
Get this Activision stuff on Game Pass. You don't have to dump it all at once. It doesn't have to be Diablo 4 is on there tomorrow. That's not what it has to be. It has to be, we're working on making the catalog compatible. We're going to drop a couple games here, a couple games there. Put out the Diablo 2 thing first. Let people play that for a couple
Diablo
months.
3, yeah.
Put out the Diablo 3 thing next. People play that for a couple months. Put out Diablo 4 when Season 5 drops or something. You know what I mean? Time it correctly. Release the content correctly. Call of Duty, you could honestly just dump everything before the last 2 and it'd be fine, because those are that would be just to inflate player counts.
I think you get a Call of Duty dump in the summer next year is what I think.
But focus, I would tell them, or I would hope that they would focus on what they have now. Don't necessarily worry about going out and getting all of this other stuff day one. But like you said, make sure Fable comes out soon. Make sure Avowed comes out soon. Work on the stuff that you have that you've told us about. And that's what's going to make them stronger and be in a better position. Releasing this Series X digital redesign will help them, because I don't know if we were talking about it on the show the last time, but I was talking to you about it.
No, you and I were texting about it.
Yeah, the more I think about it, because I still don't have a Series X, it's I'm only going to use that for Game Pass stuff. Yeah, and I'll still have my One X. So wouldn't it make,
if you want to play an older game,
right? Wouldn't it make sense just for me to get a digital system at this point?
For Microsoft stuff, especially if you want more storage,
right? And I'm buying it for their games, third party stuff. I'm going to play on PlayStation. So do that, market it correctly, explain what it is properly, price it well, and have content. That's the number one thing that they need to do. Now that this Activision Blizzard thing is quote unquote over, we don't have to worry about it anymore, right?
No, thank God.
It's just done. Thank God.
Do you think Sony retaliates?
They do something, but it might not be something that we think is huge. So it could be, maybe people in the community would. So Blue Point would be a good one.
For a long time, we always thought it was going to be Square Enix. Clearly, that's not going to happen now.
I don't think so anymore, because they just committed to putting 14 on Xbox.
Yeah.
Which, if Sony still buys them, that would probably still happen, because I doubt there's a way out of that at this point. Yeah. But it really seemed like they were kind of putting themselves in that market to be bought up. But with 16, people can say what they want about 16. It's a very good game, and it did well. Rebirth comes out soon. The 14 expansion injects new life back in. Square's doing fine. When Dragon Quest 12 comes out, Square's doing fine. Square needs to finally just realize what they need to do is make new Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest games and remaster old content. That should be their whole thing. So does Sony buy Square? Probably not. Do they buy Konami? Maybe, but what does that get you?
Yeah.
It doesn't get you anything anymore. Metal Gear, I guess, in a way. But
that's not what it was.
There ain't no new Metal Gear. So
They're not doing that again.
They probably do something, but I think the other part of maybe they don't do something is because Jim Ryan's leaving. And maybe all of this from before, like, do they want to retaliate in the way he would have done? Maybe not. Depends on who the new person is. True. Maybe the new person comes in and they're a psychopath and they decide to try to buy everything. I want to buy Nintendo. Well, yeah, everyone does. Yeah,
like, that's my dream.
Yeah, that would be my career.
Brian from Brady, Texas. Simple question. Hey guys, where the hell is Death Stranding 2? I would tell you, my simple answer is 2024
the Game Awards.
Fall. Game Awards, you get a new trailer because that's the most obvious place for Kojima to put a new trailer.
Jeff comes out.
I look forward to another wacky. I look forward to another wacky trailer. I'll watch another 800 times and still not know what the fuck's going on.
Nope. Even with a game that's already been released in that series, you aren't going to know what the second one's about.
The guy playing guitar, like I couldn't tell you what's going on, but it looks great.
I mean, if we hear anything about it, it'll be
Game Awards in
December.
I still think it's a fall 2024 game.
Yeah,
so
that game can come out whenever. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Better question, quick. Where's the Xbox Kojima game?
I don't think you hear about that until you get a date for Death Stranding. No, I think it is. They were teasing it earlier this year before that Xbox conference. So
okay,
I don't think there's a world in which both of those are at the Game Awards. Though
God, no.
I think it's just
there
Death
has
Stranding.
To be something in like his contract with Sony where it's like you can make something else, but you can't talk about it within this time period of when you release something.
My guess is that, for sure. Barry from Redacted. Hey guys, another GameStop manager here bitching about that damn email from our quote unquote new CEO. Seriously, it's pissed off just about every single person that works for this company, and I'm not seeing a mass exodus like this since the pandemic. Just about every SL and SL2 in my district either has other interviews lined up, has a job lined up and has put in their 2 weeks, or has brushed up their resume as looking.
Love it.
It's made me think that perhaps that the reason why he's penned it in the first place to start a mass exodus so he can make it easier when he finally drops the other shoe and announces the end of physical locations, which, let's be real, that's got to be within the next year and a half, right? With both Best Buy and Walmart announcing they are getting rid of physical media, it's only a matter of time for GameStop to be truly a pointless storefront. Anyways, thanks for taking my email, dudes. Love the podcast. He's not wrong.
Well, I mean, maybe that is a hidden thing. Maybe he did put it out knowing it would piss people off to get people to quit.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Part of it. But here's a counterpoint to something in that email. If Best Buy admits we're dumping movies and Walmart says we're probably dumping Xbox games, and it really seems like the two of them maybe are just going to be done, doesn't that mean GameStop should almost try to double down? Like, it's confirmed.
I would think
it's confirmed that two of your greatest competitors are going that way. Remember, that was always the biggest problem with us. It's like, there's a Best Buy across the street. There's a Toys R Us over here. There's a Target there. There's a Walmart there. And market share this, market share that. You're being primed to set yourself up for market share. You're being primed to go to Microsoft and be like, look, Walmart's out, right? So why even send Walmart consoles anymore? Why even send them anything anymore? Send it to us. We'll sell it. What if you become the only store that has this stuff? Then there's a market for it. So
for sure,
it's something that should be used as an advantage. At least to negotiate contracts with these companies. Go to Sony and be like, go into a Best Buy store and tell me how many games they have, and look at your Best Buy store as an example. Look at how they sell your product in these stores.
It's insane. Yeah,
send it to us. We'll sell it, and then when you have the product, use that to bulk out the online store. I don't have a problem with the website using stores as distribution centers. I don't think that that's a bad thing where I go on the website and I order Spider-Man and my store, if I'm working at a store, has to ship it. As long as my store gets credit for the sale in some way.
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares? But it's smarter because then he doesn't need the one thing in Kentucky when it can be shipped from stores. But then again, then you're relying on X amount of stores to all handle that process the same, which is difficult. And, they got to roll up their sleeves and get to work. So they're already being stretched in all these other different ways. So that's tough. But that should be a positive for GameStop. But I think he's right where they won't see it that way, and they'll just lean into it where, well, we don't need to carry physical medias in stores either, so why don't we just get rid of stores?
Yeah, I can see
when
that.
It's all collectibles and Pokemon cards now anyway, which they don't get.
Pretty much. Well, that's and that's what I was saying earlier. Like my store or the store that's closest to me, it's more clearance than games at this point. It's just all clear. It's all junk.
It's a weird thing too to be a recognizable brand, like a famous brand that's been around for a long time with physical stores and online, and just talk about clearance. Everything's clearance that.
Yeah.
You don't want to. Do you want the number one thing people think about your store to be clearance? No, not necessarily. No. But you do have a bunch of that stuff. That should be. I didn't mind it when we had like the clearance tower. Those things weren't built in a way where it was easy enough to put enough stuff on them.
For sure.
Maybe there's a better way to do that. Maybe clearance should be a 3-foot wall section. And just like that's where the clearance stuff is. Because think about it. You go to Walmart, there's an aisle that's clearance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then there's always people looking at that. But make it easier to shop, and maybe you'd actually sell some of it. Or actually have standards on it where they can't just keep putting stickers on top of stickers on top of stickers, top of stickers. And the sticker underneath it shows it was actually cheaper a month ago. But the clear, you know what I mean? So there has to be accountability on that. But yeah, it's just maybe the email was a weird thing trying to get people to quit.
That's I like. The more I read into it, I'm like,
problem. Saves him the severance of closing the store.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Next email comes from Sydney from Boehner, Maine. Hey guys, was curious since last episode if you have any other movie reviews or spooky stuff you've watched for this month. Thanks. Next time we record, I'll be able to talk about Exorcist Believer because that's out already this Tuesday, I think. It's this week. The only thing that I've watched.
We got Five Nights at Freddy too this week, right?
We have Five Nights at Freddy. Actually, my girlfriend, I told her we go to the Freeze every weekend, but they're getting ready to close for the season. And I told her this last time we went, she's like, oh, they have like cheese curds and stuff. And I told her, I was like, I'll tell you what, this next Friday, why don't we go and just get food from the Freeze and we'll go home and watch the fucking Five Nights at Freddy's movie. You want to do that? And she's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm like, all right, we'll do that. So that's what we're going to do Friday. But the only thing that I've watched, and I watched it to completion now, it's trash. I did a YouTube short on it. John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. I finished it. Yeah.
I read the reviews.
It is a 3 out of 10.
Good. Yeah.
I gave it a 3 out of 10. It's too far-fetched. The stories are too far-fetched. They're too unbelievable. I can't remember if it was the last episode or if I told you off the podcast. I don't remember, but like the very first episode, this dude literally makes a Ouija board out of a pizza box. Like, no. And then it summons this spirit. Like, there's no fucking way. Like, it's absurd shit like that. It's very clear John Carpenter's input is like so limited on this thing. He does the intro in what that IGN review wrote perfectly, which is like, it sounds like he did it over Skype or something.
Like a Zoom call.
It just sounds off. It sounds really off.
Gosh.
He did do the music, which doesn't sound good until you see the episode that he directed, which is the last episode of it. But also like the last episode of it, it's just, there's too many variables. There's no end to it. So the last episode, so each episode, it's an anthology show. There's supposed to be, it's kind of like, what I went into it, I was like, okay, it's going to be like the spooky stories from Unsolved Mysteries. That's what I expected it to be. But these are too far-fetched. But the very last one is about this woman, and it's very recent, being harassed by this dude, like, through technology. So, like, cell phones, emails, all that kind of stuff, right? It ends with no ending. All of a sudden, it's like this woman's being harassed on a daily basis by this dude they never catch, and then it just shuts off one day. And so that episode ends with her just like, if I ever, deal with this guy again, I'll kill him. And it just ends. And it's like, so there's no end to this. Like, it just, I don't know. It's incredibly poorly done. So don't bother. There's not really any scares with it at all. So, yeah, I will watch Exorcist Believer this week because I just need to see it at this point.
Same. I'll try to get it out this week.
I don't know if I told you, like, I follow the local drive-in theater here, and this is how I know that the movie must be bad, because every weekend without fail, And this is how the drive-in works. When that guy books a new movie, he has to show it for at least 3 weeks. That's whatever studio deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without fail, ever since the first weekend, he has had to put in the Facebook post like, hey, come out this weekend. We're playing, like this weekend it was Exorcist Believer first and then the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And at the bottom, he puts in there, yes, if you only want to come for the second movie, it starts at 10. This guy's never done that before. So that tells me people are fucking hating this movie and not going. So I know pretty much too, like from a couple of reviews I've seen, I know like the plot of it beat by beat, but I just need to see it at this point. So but yeah, I will do a review on my channel of it because I just have to see the train wreck at this point. So but Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm looking forward to that too. That I'm looking forward to.
I'm not a very you know me, I'm not a big horror guy, but there's something about that where it's like
I can also
it's also PG-13, so it can't really
Saw is out now. So I'll probably watch it at some point. That's already hit digital.
So I will say this, I watched it yesterday morning. It's a movie I haven't watched in a minute, but Big Trouble in Little China.
It's a good movie.
Didn't know John Carpenter did that one, man.
Yeah, he's done some stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like,
before all the horror stuff like that, he did big name kind of stuff like that, didn't he?
So he kind of mixed it around. Like he got known for Halloween, and then he did The Thing. But then he would do some action ones. Like there's those two, like Escape from New York, Escape from LA with Kurt Russell. That's where you get your Snake Plissken.
I will say this, out of that one, I started watching it, and then my son came down and he got into it.
Yeah.
Like he sat down and he was like, this is really cool. And like started watching it.
I don't think it's rated R either. Isn't it just PG?
No, it's I believe it's PG-13.
Okay.
Yeah. And it got the ending hit, and he was very disappointed. He was like, that was stupid. And I was like, I'm so sorry, man. I forgot exactly how this movie ended.
Yeah.
But, man, that was such a good one for, like, a majority of the film, and then the ending hit, and I was, like, kind of disappointed in it, too. So good.
I play movies all the time in the background when I'm working off the server in the office here. And for whatever reason, like sometimes the algorithm is really good on that shuffle because I make like different playlists. Sometimes it's terrible. For whatever reason, this past week, it has played that the House of the Devil movie like 8 times. I've seen that in the last week now where like I've seen like bits and pieces of it to the point that I've seen it so many times. I've probably seen one collective viewing of it after the 8 times, but it's the point like now, like it comes up, I'm like, nah, I can't do this again. Like play whatever the next thing is, because it's just on a shuffle. But like, man, alive, I've seen that movie a lot. It's a good movie, but like, fuck. So, I haven't really watched it. I mean, rewatching Pirates was fun. There is some spooky elements, I guess, in that first Pirates movie, but it's fun to watch. I literally have not seen that movie since it came out in the theater, but I saw it when it came out in the theater like 3 times. Because that was huge. That movie was huge when it came out.
Oh yeah,
it's a great movie. But we'll definitely be able to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's next time we record because we're all planning on watching that.
Speaking of horror movies, I do have my Marvel's tickets.
Oh boy,
$750.
You added, you helped him out a little bit.
I'm going with a buddy of mine on. So this is kind of a bummer because I wanted to go. So this is super nerd alert. I think I told you about it. They're putting that one Digimon movie in theaters over here for like 2 days. It's like the 8th and the 9th. And the 8th is dubbed and the 9th is subbed. So it's like, I might just go because a Digimon movie to theater, last time I did that was the fucking first one. So, and so I was like, I'd go on the sub day on the 9th. But then my buddy texted me, he's like, I can make Marvel's the 9th at like 7:15. I was like, ugh. All right, fine. But it's funny because he bought the tickets. He showed me the seating plan. Maybe 8 seats were taken.
Awesome.
And that is the release of it. Like this isn't like
that's the night.
That's the day before it comes out, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, dude.
Is it? Let me ask you: is that the usual theater or is it different?
No, I'm going to the one he likes to go to.
Oh, okay, fair.
Well, the usual theater would be even worse.
Theater we go to would be worse.
Which I do have to go to that theater for the Digimon movie since it's like a Fathom event. I'm not going to be surprised if I'm like the only person there, and it sucks because I'm going to have to go to the subtitled one.
I feel like it's going to be one of it's either you are the only one there, or it is somehow packed with Digimon.
I checked with the day they announced it, and no tickets had been sold yet.
Okay,
and I am bummed because I have to go to the dubbed version of it now. But whatever.
We talked about going to see that Leo movie, but then I mentioned to her that it's 3.5 hours, and she said no.
My buddy saw it. I've talked to a couple people who've seen it, and they both said it's really good, but they also said it probably should have just been like a 6-episode Apple TV series.
I've heard that, or I've heard people say it should have been like 2.5 hours long, and that would have been fine.
Yeah, he was telling me, he's like, there at one point, one of the characters you're waiting for doesn't show up until there's like 45 minutes left. But that means you're almost 3 hours in. Wow.
I mean, The Irishman was his last movie, and that also was 3.5 hours. No. And I did it, but I did that on Netflix.
There are some movies where I could have told you, like, if they made me a Spider-Man and they said it's 3.5 hours, fine, man, I'm all in for that on the ride.
Wasn't Cross the Spider-Verse like 2.5?
It was pretty long, but it felt
long for an animated movie.
But it felt like it kept going.
Fair.
Yeah, this one is just, he was just like, he's like, it probably should have just been on Apple TV as like a series. I was like, that honestly makes
and that
sense.
was the thing I told my girlfriend, it's going to be on Apple, I think was the streaming like platform, and it'll be out before the end of the year.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
And I was
like, just do that. He's like, do that and watch it in chunks. And I was like, okay.
That's probably what we'll end up doing.
Makes sense.
And the only other spooky thing I'll say, and I did like at this point, I think my Netflix, because I canceled it again. I think it runs out in like a couple days. I don't think I'm going to go back to it, but that Fall of the House of Usher, I did half of it. I just can't finish it. It's just not for me, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't care at this point. It is like takes the worst elements of Succession, which is like glorifying these rich assholes, and then like I just don't care about that. So,
gotcha.
It's not for me. So, let's see. Alex from Derby, Ohio. Hey guys, was curious if you think overall Spider-Man 2 will be the #1 selling game of the year. It seems like it's really poised to be, and that is wild considering it is a PS5 exclusive. Thanks. Love the podcast. It will be up there.
So I thought about it.
For sure.
I was like, well, what's probably #1 right now? And the only thing I can think of would be Zelda.
It'll be Zelda, or it won't. Mario RPG will sell, but not
the level that close to Zelda.
Mario Wonder will sell more than
Mario Wonder. Yes. So Zelda, just for context, sold 18.5 million in less than 2 months.
Yeah.
So you got to figure that plus Christmas is going to make it.
How many Switches are out there versus
30?
PS5s?
Yeah.
That's all you got to do there.
Yeah.
Like
Spider-Man's going to be up there.
It will sell PS5.
It will sell PS5s. I mean, they made a PS5 bundle for it alone.
Yeah.
As far as GOTY talk, it's
in the top.
It's in the conversation, but I don't think it wins.
Yeah.
Having played a lot of it and reading the reviews and stuff, it's not going to win. But it is a great game. Like it. Did you like the IGN review where they said it's better than the last two, and then gave it a point?
Give it
lower?
an 8. Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
But then on the flip side of that, they put out the top 10 best Spider-Man games of all time, and it's the #1. And it's like, what are we doing?
Stupid,
no.
Man.
IGN's lost it.
They've gone off the rails ever since they decided to change the scoring system again, and then have that guy just go in there and argue with people who read his website about why he is correct.
Yeah, no, they've really lost it.
It's better than the last two, but it's worse.
Like
but
say,
it's the best.
The only reason I even use IGN so much is because they have the best application.
Yes,
that you can use, like mobile app. It's an amazing app.
If GameSpot would come out with a decent app,
I would use that probably.
Yes,
so
problem solved.
It'll be up there.
Our final, but it will be up there for sure.
Yeah.
Our final email. I hesitated to put this in here until I asked you about it because it involves two YouTubers that I don't know jack shit about, if I'm being honest, until
I know enough.
We looked into it.
Yes.
Yeah. Carrie from Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah. Hi guys, was curious if y'all had an opinion on the YouTube feud going on between SS Sniper Wolf and Jax Films. So I didn't know who either of these people. I'll just be the ignorant, close to 40. I don't fucking know who this kid, these two kids are. That was kind of my opinion. when I'm like, I don't know. I just figured it was typical YouTube bullshit. And then I think I told you, I was like, tell me what's going on with this. And I think you even had the same reaction. Like, that's probably typical YouTube bullshit. And they looked at it like, no, you need to, this guy could sue this woman. It is not typical YouTube shit.
It
is this woman, it's one of those where like she is basically a YouTube golden child. She's on the front page. I think it's however the algorithm works, but like if you sign out of your YouTube account and you're not in your own algorithm like me, she will be on that front page every fucking time. Like it's one of those.
She's supported. They treat her, like you said, they treat her like she is.
It's because of the ad revenue she generates.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the only reason. And this other channel, Jax Films, he does like critical reaction videos to her reactions.
So basically, he does it to other people too, to be fair.
Yeah, it's not just her.
But he took her down because her biggest thing is all she does now is react stuff. And so all she does is react to other people's content. And that's okay in a certain genre of things, but she never credits anyone. Or if she does, it's barely ever. So she's literally making money off of people's other content that they then can't make money off of because she is. And YouTube protects her from copyright strikes and all this other stuff because she's the ad driver. So he basically made a game out of like predicting what she would say before she would say it, because all of her stuff is just cookie cutter stuff.
Yeah.
And he would just post videos taking her down. Well, she lost it and decided, I'm just going to go to this dude's house. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to his house and I'm going to film me going to his house. And I'm going to show all of my people who follow me his address.
Which is 34 million people, by the way.
She doxed him live publicly. Like his house.
And
Instagram did take that down.
Doesn't matter.
He was streaming at the time when that shit happened. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody was like, yo, you need to go to Instagram and check that.
Yeah.
Personally, man, listen, she's garbage.
She's terrible
as a person. She's horrible.
She's been arrested multiple times.
That's come out through all this.
Burglary, like I think armed robbery was one, maybe assault. Something.
It was assault, I think.
I think so. But, I mean, any point in time, if you have that big of a following, just let that shit roll off, man. I mean, you're making money where this dude is trying to make content off of your content. Like, just wipe your hands clean and not worry.
But she knows there's no consequences. She knows there's no consequences.
That's the problem.
She's untouchable.
No consequences.
And YouTube,
and as it's been brought up many times, just reverse the roles.
Right.
This would never have made it this far.
Yeah. If he did what she did, he would have been canceled, no problem.
He would have been canceled and be in jail right now.
YouTube hasn't. I don't know.
Shown up
has
in her
YouTube
house?
even said anything about it yet, or are they just ignoring it?
They haven't publicly said anything. She has put out, I think the last she had put out a very shitty apology video that people are just dunking on.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
Which tells me that she wasn't going to do anything, and then YouTube in the background probably was like, "You need to put out an apology video," and she was I
don't even know if they would do that because, again, she's untouchable.
That's the problem.
She cannot be hurt by them. YouTube. If they were smart, they'd just suspend her for a week. That's all they would do.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. They'll take her side no matter what.
They need to do more than just spend. But
it should be a lot.
The thing is, they have a lot. They could easily cut her off and put another person like her in that place to make that ad revenue if they really wanted to. She's incredibly replaceable. They just.
I mean, there's a million reaction channels of people reacting to everything.
It's insane.
TikTok videos, Instagram videos. You can find another react person to wash over her.
Oh, yeah.
The sad part is I mean, like you said, she's got 34 million.
She's got 34 million people watch this girl on YouTube. And like I said, I didn't realize it until I went on YouTube without being signed in. And she's all over the front page.
Yeah.
I don't see her when I'm signed in because my algorithm is so fucking crazy.
Yeah, mine's filtered all that
It's all
stuff.
Guitar videos and fucking Urbex stuff. So
mine's a lot of Final Fantasy content. Yeah.
There you go. It's not going to be.
Which is crazy because I actually saw a video about SS Sniper Wolf and the fact that she's in a legal battle with her ex-husband about apparently. They've done 3 or 4 different YouTube channels that they've got.
Okay.
And apparently at one point in time, her husband logged in changed all the passwords, and she couldn't get access to them. So she had to like sue him for access, and then he finally granted her access. And like they're still battling about the fact that like
they temporarily demonetized her on October 20th, temporarily.
So Friday,
and then she did the apology the same day.
Of course.
I'm sorry to him, YouTube, and the creator community for not being a better example. Maybe just let it go. Like,
yeah.
Like, so who cares if he's making react videos to you, pointing you out? It's clearly that, like, you are aware that you are doing the things he's pointing out. You're still making the money off it. Who gives a shit? Let him do his stuff and ignore it. Your fans, I mean, I'm sure she has plenty of fans who have more than happy to do the doxing for her because...
Oh, yeah.
Come on. But yeah, but it's also one of those things where like this apology looks like it's written by AI. Type in who you're sorry to and why you're sorry, and we'll fill in the rest.
And we'll take care.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So she's garbage. She should be arrested, frankly.
For showing up at that dude's house, absolutely.
Yeah. Restraining order bare minimum. I wouldn't let her within, how many ever feet. And again, like you said, if the roles were reversed, he'd be in jail.
Oh my God! It would be like you would.
He
not
shows up at your house knocking. All of his fans start texting.
He would have been swatted.
All of his fans start like making threats against your partner and stuff, like they're doing to his wife. Yeah,
that's messed up, man.
No, I mean, slap on the wrist.
We kind of go back to this though. This is the same thing where we deal with the fact that you can't like the issue people have is that they fall in love with these content creators, whether they be musicians, actors, actresses, whatever they are. And they like become so involved in what they do that they just have blinders on when shit's wrong. And it's sad because like you shouldn't praise her for what she did. She's not like, no. Like
you can't just show up at someone's house when you have 34 million followers and go, hey, this is where this dude lives.
Yeah, because who out of those 34 million, all it takes is one fucking lunatic to just fucking, bombard his house and like where his wife is, or I don't know if his kids.
The first thing that dude's probably thinking of now is how he has to move.
Yeah, he's gonna have to because he doesn't have a choice.
There's no way around it. He's gonna have to.
Yeah, and that's crazy that you have to uproot everything because someone is so fucking childish that they just couldn't let that shit just fall like water off their back, and they had to be that.
It's absurd.
It's ridiculous. No, man, that's garbage.
No, it's a fucked up situation, but yeah, no, like I said, it's just one of those. I saw the email come through. I knew nothing of it.
Yep.
Like at all, because I don't like any of these current I mean, it's not that I don't follow content creators, but like the content creators I follow that are even in the video game realm are like the known older staples, like the Game Chasers or AVGN or So it's not.
It's like you said that to me. I was like, oh, this is just typical shit. And then I read it and I went, oh nope, it is not. It is.
I assumed it was going to be like I assumed it was going to be like the Twitch hot tub stuff or something. That's what I wrote it off as at first when I saw it. I'm like, oh, it's probably some dude making fun of some chick because she's in a hot tub. So that was my guess.
Nope,
so.
Definitely not that one.
Nope, for sure. So, but that's going to do it for emails this week. As always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Other than that, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.